You're all set to begin.
Thank you. All right, good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Welcome to the Hyannis Main Street Waterfront Historic District Commission. This is March 19th, 2025, 6:31, 6:32 p.m. 12 persons deemed interested or affected by the Town of Barnstable's Hyannis Main Street Waterfront Historic District Commission, ordinance under Chapter 112, Article 3. By the Code of the Town of Barnstable, you are hereby notified that a hearing is being held at Town Hall, 367 Main Street, Hyannis, Mass. Rutland Conference Room, 2nd floor, 6:30 p.m. on Wednesday, March 19th, 2025. The meeting will be televised via Xfinity Channel 8 or High Definition Channel 1072. It may be accessed via the Government Access Channel live stream on the Town of Barnstable's website, http://streaming85.townofbarnstable.us/cablecast public site /watch/1?channel=1. I'm going to ask everyone to please silence their cell phones, and I will call the meeting to order. Commissioner Perry Wentworth.
Here.
Commissioner Conrad Watson.
Here.
Commissioner Kevin Matthews.
Here.
Commissioner Cornelius Cowley.
Here.
Commissioner Jennifer Hinckley Needham. You here, Commissioner Matt Clark.
Here.
Commissioner Laura Cronin.
Here.
Commissioner Jack Kay.
Here.
Commissioner Tom Doherty.
Here.
And I, Cheryl Powell, am also here. Also, we do not have anyone there. So can I please invite staff to introduce themselves?
Karen Pina, Admin Assistant, Planning and Development.
Corey Pacheco, Senior Planner, Planning and Development.
Thank you very much. For each of the things we have tonight, I'm going to assign everyone here to remind me that we want to double check who can vote and who cannot. So you might want to think as to whether or not you were here for the last ones.
And actually, these are the two that were out.
And that's for which number?
It's from the last hearing on the 19th.
On the 19th, okay. All righty. So, hi, welcome. Nice to see you again. So, meeting has been called to order. Trainings, there have been already two. There's still one more left of the harassment trainings. I would advise anybody really to get those trainings, but even if just for business. I have attended it myself. I had the pleasure of doing that last night. It's being sponsored by the town, and it's good to have that information and to be more comfortable with it. So I would highly recommend that. If you have any questions, see me after the meeting. You did today, didn't you?
I thought today was the last day.
Was it the last day?
Today was the last
Today was
day.
the last day.
They
Okay.
could have left cups for coffee, for God's sake.
Yeah, they had nice refreshments. Okay, so sorry. They might be doing it again from what I understand. Nothing with regard to awards. Correspondence, if nobody objects, I am going to read we do have some correspondence. I will read it out with regard to the particular applications. So I'll assume that is there. All right, so the first minor modifications is Silike Satelli. I apologize if I'm butchering the name. Is that how I pronounce it? Satelli? Okay. DBA Beauty Eyebrows Threading, 497 Main Street, Hyannis, map 308, parcel 092. And this is with regard to a sign modification. Would you like to come up, please? And if I can ask you to please sign your name. If you don't know the parcel ID, I can either show you this or we can fill that in later, whichever you're more comfortable with. Please have a seat. Thank you for coming back to us. So you have some additional information for us?
Yes. So my name is Sanjay Shah. I'm the manager. So we'd just like to add one more called the business sign on the top of on the building, it's like 2x6. And we already put it on the pictures, designed by our signing company. So we're just waiting for that one to approve so we can put them all together.
Did you want to use these to point out what you're talking about?
So the name and the logo is just going over the.
It's easier to see the giant screen, Cheryl.
Oh, you got it on now, but I looked that back there before it wasn't there. Oh.
So this is right from here to that one, because the customer wants to more visibility, and every time we get, right now, not too much, but everybody, they say, hey, you know, sign or more of that. So anybody can walk or drive by, they can see. Next door, the Hyannis shop, and also the tattoo, Irish tattoo, they don't have those things. So I like to add that one over there.
Thank you, Matt, for bringing that to my attention. When I last looked, it wasn't on, so I figured we had to go by the paper, because it's behind me. Thank you. Okay. Is there anything else you wanted to add? Okay, so, first of all, questions on clarification, of, what do you say, to Commissioner Turner?
What kind of material is that
It's
sign?
vinyl.
Vinyl? And how it will be attached to the building?
So I have seen those two, and they have like they put the wood and then they just clip it. So with the wind or anything, it doesn't get thrown away.
Is that clear, or?
How is, what, I'm sorry, I don't understand how it's attached.
So it was attached in the, like,
Do you wanna use that?
Yeah, do you see like how those are the wooden one? Sorry.
Touch it again.
It likes to play games. There you go.
So behind that, they're gonna put like a big wood stick against the wall, and then they're gonna drill it over here, oh, sorry.
It's all right, we can see
There,
it either
there.
way.
To fix it, so
You can
it is
screw
like.
it. So there's brackets that are screwed
The
into the.
brackets behind.
Gotcha.
Right, yeah.
And
It
you'll do
attaches
that
to the brackets
Yes,
that are
sir.
behind it.
Everything is nice
fits
and clean in
yeah.
the front, on the back, just go like 2x2, and then it's taken. That's what I saw them on
Okay,
the,
And it's made of vinyl, you said?
yes.
does that answer your question?
Yes.
Any other questions?
Oh, just one more, is it lit?
Sorry?
Is it lit?
There's a light that's there, isn't there? I see a light.
No, the light is, it's a building light, this side and that side, and there's a space right there.
So will you be putting a light above the
In
sign,
between the lights.
in between the lights?
Yeah, so there's one light here, one light there. and-
Right, so you're not putting any individual light on it, it's just gonna be lit by the light. Okay.
The ambient.
Please have a seat. Okay, great. Oh, if you want to stay up there, you're
Yeah,
welcome to, however you're comfortable. Any other questions on the presentation?
I can't imagine anything more terrifying
Always watching you.
than eyebrow threading.
I'll open it up for public comment. Is there any comment from the public on this?
I can support it, because when he first came in on Elizabeth with Main Street, we gave
I
him
haven't asked
advice.
you to sign it.
We gave him advice to look at other beauty shops like Echo Salon, which is in the Columbus Plaza, and they did quite a nice job. And so they had the, an above the store sign, and presently they had, an A-frame and something in the window, and we're like, let's upgrade, so I feel like responsible for saying, look at what Echo did, something above their window, so. But I don't know if vinyl's allowed, right?
Is it?
It's at our discretion, correct me if I'm wrong. It's not preferable,
Right,
wood is
that's
more
what I thought.
preferable, but it is at our discretion and there is precedent that we have approved it. not this particular one, but we've approved vinyl in the past. It kind of take it case by case. Thank you, Elizabeth.
Question.
Sure.
You said that there was a couple of signs already on that building for the other businesses?
Yes, for the Harmony Gift and also,
There's a henna tattoo right to the right of it,
Henna
with the same
tattoo.
kind of sign right on it.
Do we know what kind of
It's
sign
flat.
that is?
It's
Yeah,
Iris, Iris
it's a flat sign,
photography,
like
yeah,
this.
Henna tattoo.
But is it vinyl or is it some other
I
material?
thought it was tin, honestly.
That's
The
henna.
one for Iris Photography?
Yeah, the iris photo and henna.
I didn't think that was vinyl. That's why I was asking if it could be
Yeah.
a different material.
But it is also a different building and a different owner.
But I know, but it's on the same block, and I think, I like the fact that it's up there on there, so it kind of highlights the business. I'm just looking to see if we can do something other than vinyl.
Okay, that's for the deliberation though. We will come back to that.
Okay.
And don't forget to remind me on that, okay?
Yep.
Right now, it's just on the presentation.
Okay.
Anyone else on the from public comment? I'm gonna leave it open till we go to a motion. Now we're in the deliberation. Please feel comfortable.
Thank you.
I don't wanna make you feel that you have, I mean, if you're more comfortable standing, I don't want you to feel you have to. Okay, so commissioners, now when we come in, you have a question as to a possibility.
Yeah, possibility of changing it from vinyl to, I think, what is it, I think tin or whatever was next door, to have it kind of be, I know it's a different building, a different owner, but I think like you mentioned across the street, they've got some continuity and some consistency with the presentation, and I'm thinking if we could do something like that other than vinyl.
Well, we are wood as well. Clarify on tin, because one of the reasons, I mean,
I didn't say,
sometimes-
someone said it was tin, I don't know if it is, and that's why I asked if we could use the same material.
Yeah, we tend to not, from my experience, we tend to not encourage metal signs as such, but
Okay.
it tends to be more AZAC wood, something like that. Sometimes it is vinyl. Tin comes up very rarely unless it's matching.
That's why I said, I'm not sure what materials would be there, but I'm just thinking if we,
The regulation says all signs are to be three-dimensional wood or PVC unless waived by the commission. So we do have that
Discretion.
ability to do
It's discretionary.
safe on.
We have had a tin before, and it tends to be when they're trying to match. There was obviously an era where they had a lot of tin stuff, and sometimes they wanted to match, and that's usually when it's come before us in the past. But it tends to be discretionary, and as I said before, basically what Commissioner Matthews has just pointed out. All right, staff, Corey, do you have anything add to anything on any problems, any clarifications or anything like that?
No, I think.
And Commissioner Matthews and I are on that it's discretionary and whatever we want. Okay, any other commissioners on how you feel about it? No problem? Okay, I see a lot of, shaking hands like that.
Yeah, I
I'm
don't-
glad
I
he
don't have a
sought
problem.
Elizabeth's advice, I mean,
yeah,
Oh, yeah,
she's
absolutely.
always
definitely
very
location
helpful,
is
yeah.
good.
Well, it's kind of Elizabeth's job to know Main
Yeah.
Street, so. Okay, so in that case, I'm gonna ask, do you want the tin because it matches the surrounding signs, or do you want, or do you prefer wood?
No, whatever town said, I have to ask the company,
Oh, right, okay,
and if they say, if they have it or how long it will take, I can email you that if we get 10, I'll go with the 10.
okay.
Like 10, you said 10, right?
Tin, it's a metal, it tends to be, thin. I will say I'm not bothered either way, because especially since there seems to be others in the area that are tin. So it's not out of place. If everything else was wood, I'd probably be pushing for the wood.
And wood, that's what I was gonna suggest is wood, but if there is other material that's next door other than vinyl, I think it would look nice.
In all
if it was
honesty, I think
consistent.
PVC is better because it'll get through all the elements, but that's my,
But then we stop with
Advice.
PVC everywhere.
Right?
PVC.
I'm confused, but it should be PVC. I'm sorry, I'm confused with I can upload the email from the
Okay, yes,
client,
please.
but it should be the
I think that is
PVC or the
PVC, I
tin.
looked at it.
Yeah, PVC, I think.
Oh, okay, in that case, it's
So
not tin, that's your question, that's your
Mhm.
matter.
But I'd rather
So
have that than
It
10,
looks
to
like
be
it's
honest with you.
PVC.
I will confirm with her tomorrow, and then I will come by or email Pina to, is it PVC or is it? I think PVC too.
Okay,
Oh, no, it's
so
PVC is vinyl.
it is, yes, and that is on there.
That PVC gives more
rigid.
brightness and
Yeah.
Vinyl
protection
isn't
against
rigid.
the water or weather, so I think it should be PVC, but I'm not 100% sure right now. I can ask.
So
Yeah.
we'll wanna be careful that that is in the, whatever motion is made. Where to come back,
Again, PVC is at discretion of the commission.
it is. Yes, we do, and thank you, you did that very well. It looks like everybody can. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we have 6. So I just wanna make sure I keep forgetting to count myself. 1, 2, 3,
Yeah, you have 6
4,
right,
5, 6 regular members, so we can have up to 7. Who has not had a chance recently to vote from the alternates? Connor?
For what?
Voting, are you okay to vote?
Yeah.
I can only choose one of the alternates.
Yeah.
Is that okay with you?
Yeah.
You haven't had a chance recently? Okay, so, it will be Conrad voting from the alternate part, and we'll rotate it around. That's okay. All right, so, would one of the commissioners like to make a motion, on, a closing public comment, like to make a motion on the findings? Don't all leave at once.
Nobody's doing it, huh? I guess, I move that the commission find the application to be compatible with the preservation and protection of the district at 497 Main Street, Hyannis.
Can I also clarify that that would be preferably with the PVC or to get back to us? Are you okay with that amendment?
Yes.
Are you okay with that in your second?
Yes.
Okay, so in that case, Commissioner Crowley?
Aye.
Commissioner Watson?
Aye.
Commissioner Cronin? Commissioner Clark?
Aye.
Commissioner Doherty?
Aye.
Commissioner Kay?
Aye.
I also say aye. Would one of the commissioners like to make a motion on the certificate of appropriateness with that amendment?
I move to issue a certificate of appropriateness for the application at 497 Main Street, Hyannis, as described in the submitted material.
And the PVC
And the
as per the
PVC.
First Amendment. Seconded by Commissioner Kay. All right, we'll go for this side this time. Commissioner Kay?
Aye.
Commissioner Doherty?
Aye.
Commissioner Clark?
Aye.
Commissioner Cronin?
Aye.
Commissioner Watson?
Aye.
Commissioner Farley? I also say aye. Well done. If you could get back, if there's a problem with the PVC, contact staff
Sure.
and, it's fixable. Okay?
Thank you very much.
Very nice presentation.
Thank you, thank you.
Hey, Jack, quick question, does tin rust? It does, right?
Tin can rust, yes. Oh, yes, you're fine.
Thank you
I
very much.
wouldn't want
Thank
tin
you. Have a
somewhere.
good evening.
Because
Drive
that's to keep it
carefully.
basic.
I'd like to see wooden signs up and down there.
All righty.
You're the builder, I gotta screw everything up.
Town of Barnstable, who's presenting that?
Oh.
Nice to see you again.
Yes, likewise.
Go in the hot seat.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, this is with regard to Main Street Hyannis parklets. That's come back to
Yeah.
us. I remember the old the parklet.
Yes.
For those who, I'd say probably only half of us were here with the original time the parklets. You were not. Neither was Commissioner Matthews, neither was Commissioner Watson. I don't think Commissioner Crowley was. And I'm not sure if Commissioner Clark was. Were you here for the parklet thing last time?
Sure.
Happy to give a background on the project.
If you could, and before you do, where are the papers from February 9th minutes? So is it an update you want on this, or is it?
Yes.
Because we already had a vote on it, so I need to know if there's people who cannot vote.
So it's a minor modification because the original decision read that upon 1 year expiration, the applicant shall submit a modification to the decision to extend the deadline. So we're just looking to deploy them again this summer for another summer. So we're basically looking for a 1 year extension on the improvement.
wanna tell them a little bit about what the project's
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
More for the public, because we've had the application, but a lot of people don't know that.
Yep, so this started, the town got a shared streets grant from Mass Department of Transportation, I think it was in 2022, to, among other things, purchase these street parklets. And they serve kind of a multi-purpose. One of their kind of primary purposes is they serve as a trolley stop for the Hyannis trolley in the summertime, which a lot of people aren't really aware exists. I think it's $1 to ride on it, and it kind of goes all the way downtown in Hyannis. So a main goal of the project was to increase visibility of the Hyannis trolley system. So we have signs on it that say it's a trolley stop. But furthermore, it's just a place to sit on Main Street where there aren't a whole lot of places to sit. This past year, we weren't able to get the lights installed, but we were planning on, if approved for another season, to get lights on them. So that was another plus to add more lighting on the street, which we know we've heard from your committee is a priority. So yeah, it was just kind of a nice thing. The state obviously liked the idea. They gave us grant money for it. We kind of just tried it out for a season. We were, willing, if we really got any complaints from the community or the businesses, we were, ready to adjust for this upcoming season, but really haven't heard any complaints. People seem to like it. Anecdotally, Paulo Paraguay, who owns Polio's Pizza right across the street from this one, he was really reticent of the idea at first, but since it was deployed, he actually I think he was supportive of it after seeing them. This one actually doesn't take up a parking spot. People can still park in that parking spot and did last summer. And we also, obviously it's a partnership with the Hyannis Main Street Business Improvement District to make sure that they stay clean and we deploy all the planters around it to make it look nice, and we'll do that again this year if the extension's approved. And with that, happy to answer any questions.
Just to give a little bit more of a background, one of the problems that the commission had with it to begin with was, if I remember correctly, the entrance to it was here. And
There was an opening to the
An opening.
street, which we amended per your.
well, we were concerned that you can't walk right out into traffic. So I wanted to point out that has been amended there, which is very nicely there, 'cause it's also back towards the end. And we had the blue rain covering, but the only other thing was the lights. Can you tell me where the lights are on this?
The lights will be draped around, basically
Draped around,
around the
okay.
shades there.
Right.
Like Christmas tree lights kind of thing?
Yeah. I mean, there won't be like Christmas tree lights, but
Right.
they'll be.
Draped around, yeah.
Yeah.
I seem to remember that was the way it was. Just wanted to make sure that's still the case.
Yep.
Okay, any questions on the presentation?
Well, having a wife and a mother-in-law that love to shop down Main Street and go in every single store to shop, I like places to sit down, to be honest with you. I approve of that. The only other question I've got on this is in this design, why you wouldn't have an opening on both sides? Just because if I'm sitting all the way over there and I want to leave, I'm going to come all the way down and get out that way. Just a design question.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if you guys wanted to, this is very adjustable. I'm pretty sure we could just remove one of the panels.
I just think it'd be easier so you can get out on either side no matter where you're sitting in that whole little space.
Yeah, I can see if the structures and grounds can do that. I don't know if we'd have I think we might only have one ramp.
Got you.
So that might be an issue.
Yep. Just a thought.
In which case you'd have to put some yellow tape on that step to warn people there's a step there.
Well, we'd need to get another.
Or get another ramp. And I
Yeah.
prefer that.
Well, yeah, we have to make them
I
accessible.
wouldn't want you to
so.
just have that there. And I would also request that, just like you've done on this, on most inside, that the same thing be the case, that it's, open on that side, so.
Okay.
It's just simply a safety issue.
Yep.
So,
We can look into that.
Question.
Hmm.
Were the lights on the original application?
I don't think they were on the original application, but they went on very
They were
quickly.
on.
Yeah.
For approval, they've already been approved.
Yeah.
The
And
lights are.
the town was very accommodating on it.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
I just wasn't here.
No, I understand.
When
Yeah.
we did this last year,
They
I
even added
thought
plants.
it was just for 1 year.
Right.
Yeah, so that's what the decision read. Upon 1 year expiration, so you're correct, it was for 1 year. The applicant shall submit a modification to extend, decision to extend the deadline.
Does this have anything to do with the grant? Does this affect the grant? If
No, at this point,
just-
at this point, the town can do with it what it will, like that did the first year, we wanted to make sure we deployed it in compliance with the grant. But this year, we were kind of open to, if we thought it wasn't a good idea, we were gonna redeploy it someplace else, but I've kind of thought it's a value add for the
Yeah.
street, we've heard from our business community that they've liked it, so.
So this is year 3.
This is year 2. Year
It
two.
is year 2, but I
Oh,
was,
so-
Because we got the approval, I think, back in 2023, but it took a while
Oh,
to
okay, I got you.
procure the
That's why I was
materials and
confused. Okay.
everything, yeah,
Got it.
so.
can I point out the reason why we did that is because it was a new thing on the street. We were concerned about safety, so we wanted to come back just to see, so we could tweak it if there had been problems that arose. So that's why it was to come back.
And I'm happy to, continue to go year to year, so.
I've had no complaints about it,
I think it's great.
yeah.
And it's just up for the summertime.
Yep, it's meant to be Memorial Day through Labor Day, which is when the trolley runs. It's, never right on those exact dates because we gotta work around the structures and ground schedule, but.
I was never fond of the design, and the way it would look on the streets. And, in the summer, last year, I went down there, I didn't see too much activity there. But again, I'll go to the Main Street people, if it was beneficial to them. I like lights, I think the town needs lights, I still don't like that structure. But if it adds to business, I guess I'd be interested in doing it again.
We're trying to increase participation in the trolley service too, which, helps the businesses get more people downtown and, so, yeah, understood, yeah.
Commissioner Glennon?
One of the things from last year was that you said you did want to increase the trolley rideability, but
Yep.
that was something that kind of didn't really hold because you didn't have any other trolley signage or anything else on it, that's what it was used for.
Yeah, we do have signs on it that say Hyannis trolley on it.
Right, and you did say that there was more than these two. You have, I think,
There's two parklets that have the trolley signs. There are more, there's a lot of
you have more parklets.
2 parklets, there's multiple trolley signs around the area along the route.
We're just putting up these 2.
Then one of the things is the parking. There's people that were saying that it was not, maybe it was because it got in late, people didn't know what it was for. And that the taking up parking spaces is an issue. Now, you said the first one you showed isn't taking up any.
Correct.
Could this one be the same way? Could you move it into the
That
parking lot?
That will be what I'll ask of the structures and grounds crew. I believe these spots are a little bit more narrow in this part of the street. And then this spot is a little more challenging because there's a tree on the sidewalk as well. But I can absolutely see if we can do that, yeah.
I think if you don't take up any parking spots, I think that
Yep.
would help. And what kind of lights did you say they were? I remember
So they're-
improving lights.
They're basically string lights around the perimeter, and they're gonna be solar powered, so they don't have to plug
Are
in.
they the large bulbs, like?
They're not like,
They're not tea lights, they're more
Could
like.
you have an example of the lights that would be put on?
I don't on me, but I'd be happy to provide it to you guys.
Rather than just Christmas tree lights, I'm thinking it needs
They're
something.
meant to be like little
larger.
bulbs to kind of emulate the bulbs in the trees on Main Street. So kind of
That's
mini
right.
version of it draped around the,
That's
the
what I was
shade
going to
sail.
say, that was what we saw. Not the Christmas tree lights, which are tiny, and not the tea lights, but they were something about like that, aren't they?
Yep.
And they're kind of round like bulbs.
They
Yes,
have the
about
bigger
like
lights
that.
at the beer garden too.
Yeah.
That are across the beer garden. I think those are great lights to put
Yeah.
around it.
That'd actually be great. That's a good idea. If you can ask them what they're using, just match them. That way it all looks the same on the Main Street.
Can I,
Good idea, Tom.
correct me if I'm wrong, didn't we not,
You're
how
wrong.
many were originally approved? Because I thought there were more than 2.
2.
Was there only 2?
So we originally, I think, proposed more than that, but we reduced it for your feedback.
That's what happened,
Yes.
okay, because I remember thinking we can't afford that to lose that many parking spaces, I forgot we reduced it. Okay,
Can I ask a question on that,
Sure.
on that point, did you actually get more and we only installed 2? Because I thought the original grant was.
It was like 6, wasn't it?
Yeah, so
I
we,
mentioned them.
there was originally
4 to
6 in the
yeah.
grant that we
Yeah.
got. We repurposed those grant funds for other purposes,
Okay.
once you guys
Okay.
wanted less. So, I don't know if you noticed the sidewalk repair
Yeah.
project last year, a lot of the
Okay.
funds went to that. So-
I was just thinking, if you had others, one of the
Yeah.
ideas that we had suggested is that you wanna increase the ride, share ride or with the trolley, is to put it down on the beaches, like
That's a good
in
idea.
Hyannis down there, so.
Which is what we were probably gonna do if you guys didn't want them to continue to be on Main Street. But like I said, I think they're a value add on the street, but yeah, be happy to look at that in the future.
Is there any more talk about
Aye.
Main Street being two-way?
That's still on track, the Great Streets project. I believe the latest timeline is fall 2026. They're
So it
still,
won't be this year,
won't be this year.
because those would be a problem.
We'll have to figure out probably new spots for them or not put them back on the street. That's why it's gonna be year to year, every year. We'll
Yeah.
keep reevaluating.
Any more, Commissioner Watson?
Yeah, any possibility of getting one on the east end? I have a really broad sidewalk in front of my parking lot there, and it would really be nice there. Probably increase foot traffic.
We can look into that.
Okay.
Maybe move that other one up to you, so we
Take
just,
one,
I wouldn't
too.
see it.
Who else wants one? This is
You
a
know,
lot different of a conversation than last time when we were
Right on
getting
the
rid of
edge,
them out.
top of the done, perfect.
These are relatively,
lights.
these are relatively close to each other, really, when you think about it. I mean,
Yeah, it's meant
it'd
to
be great
be-
to get either another one or spread them out or, to make it more.
It's meant to be far enough away that they're not right next to each other, but
Yeah.
close enough that it actually feels like a network of
Yeah.
2 different stops, kind of, if you will.
Okay. So, in that case,
I'll take one too.
anything more you wanted to say on the presentation? Okay, we'll open it up for public comment. Anybody? Okay, I'm gonna leave it open, public comment open until we go to a motion. Commissioners, how do you feel about it?
It's fine.
Yeah?
With the lights,
Okay.
Yes.
The lights to match the beer garden.
Okay,
I would say with the lights and not taking up any parking spots and have a purpose for it.
as a preference, but already they take up parking spots. At least it's only 1 year we're doing this.
We can do our best to make it.
To do their best to
Yeah.
make it, but,
No handicap spots, right?
No.
so I'm happy to do your best on that, and it sounds like you have other takers. So, again, 7, so only one of the 3 alternates that we have here. So I'm gonna make it somebody who isn't going to, who hasn't requested it to go by their business. You've already voted, so I'm glad I had you for the last one. So, all right, Commissioner Wentworth. Okay, so, and Kevin, you get to go for the next one.
All right.
We have enough applications. Pardon?
I don't know how we can keep you in your chair.
I know that.
So if it's, staff, any
This is
input?
full of vodka, Jack. I don't know what the heck you're talking
Yeah, I think I'll take
Wait, we
one.
already got, I know, but
I think
since
fellow
you're
staff will
here,
provide
got
great
it,
insight.
got it. But I just didn't know if you had anything. All right, in that case, was that hand up? Neil? Oh, okay, it looked like it was, sorry. Okay, so,
Relax.
gotta be careful when you put your hair back, you know? Never know. Okay. All right, closing public comment. Would one of the commissioners like to make a motion that we approve this again for this year? Obviously with the request, try to avoid the parking spots, and lights. And public comment is closed. Would somebody like to make that motion? And the motion would be for the town of Barnstable, Main Street with regard to the parklets.
No address.
What, Main Street, I'd put Main Street,
Oh, over there.
because it covers all of Main Street.
Gotta read all of it.
Yeah.
So that it would be, if nobody wants to, I'll make the motion. No?
Yeah.
All righty.
Go for it.
In that case, I move that the commission, whoops, wrong side. Where's the approval? I got a denial one, right. I move that the commission find this application to be compatible with the preservation and protection of the district with regard to the Main Street parklets with a request to please, try to be cognizant of the parking areas and also with regard to lights and the comments that have made. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, they're both at the same time, so whichever you want. So, Commissioner Crowley.
Aye.
Commissioner Cronin. Commissioner Clark.
Aye.
Commissioner Doherty.
Aye.
Commissioner Kay.
Aye.
Commissioner Wentler.
Aye.
I also say aye. Moving on further, I would like to make, I move to issue a certificate of appropriateness for the application, which takes Main Street, and that is with regard to the parklets. Again, with the same, preferences that were expressed in the motion for the findings. Make a move for the certificate of appropriateness of that application. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Kay. Commissioner Crowley.
Aye.
Commissioner Cronin.
Aye.
Commissioner Clark.
Aye.
Commissioner Doherty.
Aye.
Commissioner Kay.
Aye.
Commissioner Wentworth.
Aye.
I also say aye. I did not, okay, got it, okay. Just wanted to make sure I got that.
Thank you guys very much. Have a great evening, everybody.
Thanks a lot.
They really went
Great
down
day.
well over the last year, they really did. I was very pleased with them. Thank you for taking out the thing right along the road. Okay, now, Bornbaum Associates LLC, 337 Main Street, Hyannis, map 327.
We're doing Ocean Street? 235 Ocean?
235 Ocean,
Oh,
yeah.
I went ahead and put a line. Oh, sorry about that. Thank you. I put the line through twice. Apologies. 235 Ocean Street, LLC, with Hyannis map 326, parcel 034, with regard to a patio extension and stairway. And again, thank you for putting that out. Hi.
Hello.
Sorry, I wasn't trying to jump over your.
Oh, no worries.
If you would, we can bring up another chair if you wish.
Yeah, or you can take that one if you want.
And if you're gonna be speaking, if you could also sign in.
Yeah, I'll ask questions.
Yeah, what happens, they put an extra line, if I do the line once, and I just put the line for the next thing after that. Silly me.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, connecting the two. Oh, nice.
Hard to get there from here.
Can't get there from here.
Okay, everybody ready? All right, please, continue.
Hello.
If you could say your name.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Chad Hill with the Complete Home Group. This is Adrian Perschlack. He is one of the owners of the New Break Restaurant located at 235 Ocean Street. We're here tonight, we're proposing to improve this entryway. And we'd like to, as you can see in this drawing here, this is the existing entryway as it is now. What we'd like to do is extend the hotel patio over, and then we'll rebuild and reconfigure the staircases in such a way that we'll have a nice new entryway that will allow you to access the hotel, the restaurant above, and also the restaurant below, and also Fancy's Market. There's a small little marketplace that's kind of in the mix there as well. So it just kind of, it ties everything in nicely, you know, and it's, I think it's much safer. This way, you know, people from the hotel can access the restaurant, the Fancy's Market, without having to jump out onto Ocean Street. There's a lot of foot traffic there, as you know, from Highline people and a lot of vehicle traffic. So I think they'll benefit in that regard with safety. As we scroll down, you can see, I don't know if can you rotate this?
Yeah, I just have to,
Yeah, so here we have a nice newly designed entryway with some couple of pillars, you know, at the foot of the staircase. We have a couple of lights, lantern lights there, which I think are spec'd in the drawings. All of the, our goal here is really not to introduce any new materials necessarily. We wanna match what's there. We wanna match the existing patio paver. We wanna carry that over. We wanna match the existing, masonry wall. We wanna carry that over. All of the, railings, PVC stair, you know, that's all gonna remain the same. We'll match that up with the restaurant, with what they currently have.
Do you own both properties?
No, we actually are tenants of 235, so the hotel came up with this idea, so it's more for them in terms of like they want this to be an amenity for their guests.
So if you aren't the owners of
Yeah.
both properties, how do we react to the owner of the other one?
Yeah, this is something that just came to my mind as well.
Well, he's actually representing the owner, of the property.
Oh, right, okay.
I'm just the
yeah.
tenant, in case you had questions.
Oh, okay.
He's the
Okay.
tenant, right,
Okay.
so he,
No, is
he
it
leases
one
the
parcel that we're
It
doing
is.
all this work on?
it's one parcel. Right.
It's basically bridging two parcels. So
Both
it is,
owned by the same
yes,
owner,
both owned by, Newport Hotel Group, which is.
which Chad represents.
Right,
Yes.
right, which
So,
we're,
let me just simplify the question that's here, just to be, I think I know the answer, but I hadn't spotted it either, thank you, Commissioner Kay. What we're saying is, occasionally we'll get somebody who, comes in on one's property that they don't own, and we have to make certain that the owner of that property is a part of it, and that so, we can't, don't wanna approve, you wouldn't want somebody to approve something on your property that was.
No, completely understood, and if you notice,
That's what we're getting at.
right,
the owners are the Hyannis Harbor Hotel. So
Okay.
all the drawings are from them.
Okay,
It's their architect. They hired Complete Home Group, which is the local builder,
okay,
which we're very connected with.
just
My
wanted to
business
make
partner,
sure.
Do those properties have separate addresses? Those,
they do.
I don't know that we need to make sure that we have both addresses on this thing. I mean, it may or may not be relevant.
right.
It's,
There is a drawing showing both. So 233 is the patio, the hotel patio. There is a drawing showing that, at least from the building permit side, which I think is what,
It's been reviewed by the building commissioner and deemed necessary for
Okay.
egress, so, I
yeah,
mean, that's something we can clarify,
Yeah,
you know,
that's
after the
what I was
fact, but,
we can make it a condition of the motion,
I mean,
that
I
it's
don't
clarified
even
and that
think you need to
it's
do
all
that.
kosher.
it's not really irrelevant.
I don't
It's
think
somewhat
it's
relevant for us.
Understood.
I think we, in
Yeah.
the motion, we just simply clarify that needs to be, make sure that is what it is. That seems to be what you're
Right.
saying as well.
I don't think that needs any clarification, I think
Nope. Okay,
it's been reviewed by the building commissioner and it was deemed necessary
okay,
for egress and, you know,
I'm
he's
satisfied
he's
with
an
it.
agent of the
Yeah,
property
the
owner, and that's requesting this improvement.
of both parcels, okay. All right, I'm fine with that. All right. Not trying to put snags in, just clarifying.
Yeah, again, so just touching back on, you know, the materials, you know, we're gonna just, our plan is to reuse, you know, all the, or to match all the existing, materials that are currently on site.
It looks wonderful.
Yeah, I think it would be a nice improvement.
You're gonna keep going.
And when did you say when this will be in progress and finished?
As soon as possible. Yeah.
Soon, before Memorial Day.
Yeah, either, when can we get the permit?
it's,
Well,
they said it's about a 3-week job.
Right.
Yeah.
Once we get all the approvals,
Yeah.
we can start.
This is the same architect who did all of Hyannis, the renovations to Hyannis Hotel
I
Harbor.
believe it's the same architect.
They do a fantastic job. Everything down there is pristine.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
we agree.
Good job.
And I love the fact that
Porcelain design.
if you're using the restaurant, you can go over and sit by the fire tables and hang out there and.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah,
Beautiful.
right.
It's beautiful.
It's a great
Really,
improvement.
really
By the way,
ties all
I'll do my
nice.
due diligence.
It does.
What's the sign made out of?
So the current sign is wood, so we would match that. We have a current sign that's basically hanging right now. So it's basically the same sign in a different form factor and just placed there.
Are you gonna light it? Light on
We'd
top?
like to light it. The current one's lit.
It is, okay. So you're just gonna throw like a light on top of it?
They'll run on,
Gooseneck or the same that's already there?
I think the same that's already there. We'd want to match it if at all possible.
Okay.
And it's uplit,
That
so
makes
from both
sense.
sides, but this is a single sided, so.
And you'll see it anyway, because you'll have to come back with a sign afterwards.
Yeah, they have to do a separate application for the signage, right?
Okay, so. All right, anything more on the presentation that you wanted to say?
No, I think it's pretty straightforward.
It looks straightforward.
No,
And this will
not
be
too
done,
much to it.
this will be done before Memorial Day, you said?
Yes.
That's what I was thinking.
We can all start work.
Okay, so, there's no correspondence with regard to this one, right? Okay, so, opening up for public comment. Don't see any takers. So, Commissioners, how do you feel about it?
Fantastic.
It's great.
Fantastic.
Not a problem.
I think you were reading my mind, because the last time I was in there and I went down those stairs, I said, man, this would look great if it matched up.
Okay, so in that case, is nothing more you wanted to say? No public comment? Would one of the commissioners like to make a motion and on the voting with regard to this time, Commissioner Matthews, you're up.
Okay, I'll do it. I'll move that the commission find this application for 235 Ocean Street in Hyannis to be compatible with the preservation and protection of the district.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, that's Commissioner Kay. So, Commissioner Crowley.
Aye.
Commissioner Cronin.
Aye.
Commissioner Matthews.
Aye.
Commissioner Clark.
Aye.
Commissioner Doherty.
Aye.
Commissioner Kay.
Aye.
I also say aye. Would one of the commissioners like to make a motion on the certificate of appropriateness?
I'll
And
vote.
again, that's understanding that with regards to the sign,
We'll come back for the sign.
Right.
Okay.
I move to issue a certificate of appropriateness for the application at 235 Ocean Street in Hyannis as described in the submitted materials.
With the sign to come back to us.
Yeah.
All right,
The sign's not on this, right? I don't think.
yeah. So, second anyway?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Crowley. So, Commissioner Kay.
Aye.
Commissioner Doherty.
Aye.
Commissioner Clark.
Aye.
Commissioner Matthews.
Aye.
Commissioner Cronin. Commissioner Crowley. I also say aye. And, well done. I think it looks really great. So we just had to clarify that one issue.
Not a problem.
I don't like things that have to come back because we missed something.
Sounds good.
It is really very nice. It'll really be an enhancement for the town. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
All right, now that that line's already done for that. Right, continued business. This is with regard to Bornbaum Associates LLC, 337 Main Street, Hyannis, map 227, parcel 111. This is with regard to a demolition. Also, the next one is for the same location with regard to a new building. Would the applicant like to come up? Whoever's representing?
Good evening.
You wanna do it from down there, or you wanna come up here?
I'm gonna avoid the hot seat tonight.
You're in the hot seat, but I'm gonna pass down. We can't allow you to avoid signing in.
That's fine, thank you.
By the way, just reminding you that there are correspondence.
Please feel free. Nice to see you again.
Just reminding you, there are correspondence that you want to read into the record after all the.
Oh. There's your menu.
Thank you.
Like a little bit.
I better watching.
Well,
Thinking about his eyebrow.
he's got it out, so like,
Yep,
yeah,
that's
this one.
And that's
That's it, yeah. I'll put it down there because it was last.
Somebody force you to.
And I'm gonna ask you to pass that back down so that the gentleman to my left can sign it.
First, we'll need to take just a slight detour.
That's all right.
We may have two other speakers.
That's fine. Not a problem. Meanwhile, I'm going to read into the record a correspondence here. This is from Florence Dowd, dated March 4th. It says, if you could forward to the people involved making the decision on the building at One Ocean. I was so upset with the plan presented, scale materials used were not in keeping with the historic on Main Street. Very important to make sure that there is a guideline to be kept historical. It can be done. Thanks for passing this along to HHTC and anyone else who wants.
Who's that from?
Florence Dowd, dated March 4th. And it's with regard to the red brick building.
Did we already read the one dated February 20th into the record last time?
I think we should read it in again, to be honest. Would you like to read that one in, please?
Sure, from Florence Dowd, sent February 20th, 2025, to Jim Cupfer and Karen Pina, subject is One Ocean. Jim, I believe the new structure should be in keeping with the red brick building. Using red brick with white windows, the scale of the building should be correct. FYI is off, it needs to be corrected before going forward. If you guys could make sure the architect follows historical scales and materials, porches are off as well. Thanks, Florence Dowd, P.S. Red brick can be saved and should not go into landfill. People do pay for old bricks, something the town or building could use. And then there's a second here from Betsy Young. As soon as
We did read these in before.
Yeah,
I
Okay.
just want them to be part of tonight's as well.
So you want to read it
Would you do
again?
that again?
Yes, if you do.
Why don't you read it second?
Betsy Young, February 19th, this is to Karen Pina, 337 Main Street. Hello, Karen, sorry for the lateness of this email, but I wonder if you could get the HHDC Commission members this. I would like to register my support for the demolition of the property at 337 Main Street. My shop sits across from this property on Main Street, and I've been looking at this empty, failing property for 18 years, hoping something would be done to make it better. It is, in my opinion, unsavable. I am pleased that the current owner plans to use the property for another purpose. I've seen drug deals happening in the front doorway on many occasions and have seen people passed out in front. It will be so good for Main Street and Hyannis to have a functioning business there, as it is in a very visible location on the way to the ferries and at the beginning of the main commercial area. I hope that the commission will agree that the property needs to be demolished and repurposed. Thanks, Betsy Young, Soho Arts Company, 342 Main Street in Hyannis.
I read this out last time, but I just thought it was important because we're here just to make sure all the correspondence is definitely included. Okay, so I did get an email about doing a walkthrough or whatever at one stage, but I don't think anything transpired by that. But doesn't really matter. Okay, so I would like to ask the applicant and their representative, as I did last time, there are two parts here. One is for demolition, the other is for a new building. It is totally up to you. I just want to be clear. Do you want to take them separately or together?
I think the answer, and my name is Pat Nickerson for the record, one of the attorneys for the applicants, along with John Kenny. Jonathan Stone is also here, our architect, and Marcello Bendigni, the principal. The answer to that question at the last hearing was we have no problem taking them together. That's the chair's preference. The updated materials, however, all relate to the new construction. So maybe logically it makes sense to ask the commission if there's any questions about the demolition portion of our application that we might address. And if there are none, just proceed to the presentation regarding the new construction.
Okay, Mr. Cronin, are you saying that you wanted to speak or something? I saw you going like this. Any questions for that, or does anyone have a preference?
I think we talked about this before, and I think it was Commissioner Kay that brought it up about those windows that are on the original building, which are just gorgeous, that top one, especially in the side window, half the window there as well. It would be great to save those. And I do agree with the person who wrote in the letter, and I think you mentioned this too, Jack, that there could be some Barnstable brick in there that could be worth some money.
Yeah.
So, and that actually would benefit you and your client, because if you could resell those and, you know, make some money, that would be great.
Taking bids.
But the windows, I think, was the one thing that we had discussed that we would be able to save. But there's no question it needs to be demolished. I think that's pretty, obvious.
I think we can address those points in the presentation for new construction.
Okay, can I then just since we're going, so Commissioner.
So because of the question related to demolition, I would be in favor of having it all together rather than separating out the demolition.
Okay, well, I was gonna make a suggestion similar to that, and that is, if we're gonna go on to the new part, we're kind of leaving demolition open, just if we need to go back, if any questions arise with regard to the new building, is that fair?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
But
so in other words, we're not making an assumption on one by going on to the other, is that okay?
That's fine, Madam Chair, but I thought the board, the commission was polled, not formally, but and pretty much everybody was in concurrence that the building has to be demoed, so.
I think my impression was, and again, because there wasn't a vote, I can't say that we made a decision or anything, but I got that impression as well.
That's why we're focused on the new building tonight.
I understand.
A lot more questions about that.
Okay.
So do you mind, I just want to make sure I'm looking at the right thing. So are we dealing with the file that says revised plans for One Ocean Ave?
So,
Because you have the 47-page, which looks to be regulatory agreements or what have you. But then you also have something that says, yeah, there's a application for new build with exhibits, and then there's a PowerPoint new build and a revised planned One Ocean. So I just trying to find out which one we're looking at.
if I could take a look
Yeah,
sure.
at your computer.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks.
Let me open these up here. So these are the revised plans right there. I just want to make sure you're not, we're not doing stuff we don't need to. So that drawing there says revised plans.
Just scroll up.
Yeah. Well, Wi-Fi isn't great, so it takes some time. It starts with that.
Okay, so that's not the most recent
That's not the most recent.
floor plan.
Okay. So we're looking at, there's a 21 page here. Yeah, there's two of them. That's why I'm trying to find out which one is this.
Well, actually, I can tell you what, Kevin, the revised one is the one with the red bit.
So they submitted new material this evening,
Okay.
so we'll be reviewing that new material on the screen tonight.
Okay.
So,
All right.
Can I just point out that
Right.
the first one
We don't
has
have.
gray brick, whereas the revised one that's marked revised has the red brick.
But then you have a revised.
Oh, gotcha,
That they're gonna
okay.
show tonight.
So what are we looking
Okay.
at?
The
We're not
TV screen.
looking at these,
Right,
Yeah,
we're looking
TV
here.
screen,
and that's 327 or 32327?
version 3.
I don't think so.
Huh?
Version 3.
No, it says 3237.
Yes, that's a mistake.
That's a typo.
337 and 345.
Okay.
So this is our cover sheet. So, regarding the building height, to sort of just address, I think, the most prevalent topic from our last meeting, we've determined that the proposed new building is 50 foot 8 inch to the ridge. With some further research and the assistance of Dan Ojala, we submit that the proposed building height's appropriate in relation to the size and location of existing buildings. And through available town records, we've determined the proposed height of this building is actually 4 foot 4 inches lower than the building that was previously approved by not the particular members of this body, but by a former Hyannis Main Street Historic District Commission back in 2005. So you can see, is there a way to move these carrots, Corey, or is that it? Okay, so along the margin, you can see 50 foot 8 inch, which measures from grade to the ridge. It says it right here. This is not different from the last presentation. We've just determined that this is the actual height because this is something that was important to the commission. So we wanted to make sure to get that figure for you. So 50 foot 8 to the ridge. We had Dan Ojala assist us. Can I use this to scroll in? Okay. So just like normal, just shift again. Okay. Okay. Oops. Is there a way to make this bigger? Zoom in. Okay. At the back of the room, it's a little hard to see. Madam Chair, can you see this height?
I can't, no problem. I'll put my glasses on.
Okay, thank you.
So the height is 55.3 feet.
Okay, so this Using,
Now, is it as a pier?
to the ridge.
To the ridge, okay.
Using a software called Connect Explore, Dan Ojala took measurements through computer technology, you could say, of some buildings nearby, just to add some perspective, because it's hard to tell the height of the building we're proposing without comparison to other existing structures. So this one, 55.3, is actually taller than what we're proposing be built.
Can I ask, did you measure the height of Jack's Drone Shop, which is your abutter?
We can get to that.
Okay.
We can get to that. We have another one over here, Madam Chair. This is the height to the building adjacent to Jack's. Can you tell us what this number is?
24 feet, and it looks like it's even.
24 feet. So Dan did not do a height to Jack's. Marcello went on site with a laser. He shot the ridge to Jack's with a laser. He came back with 17 feet being the ridge to Jack's in comparison to 24 feet being the building next to Jack's. This is the property at 49 Ocean Street. I can make this one out. This one looks like 37 feet.
It is,
to the
37
ridge.
feet.
Okay. We have this building, which looks like
74.8 feet.
Okay, thank you. We have 320 Main Street. Could you help me out?
33.9
Okay,
feet.
okay. And then the steeple.
97.2 feet.
Okay.
I feel like I'm having an eye test.
And this is, I believe, the last one that Dan helped us with, 500 Old Colony Road. This one.
54.6.
Thank you very much. Maybe it's time for me to have an eye test.
Pat, just for the record, Dan Ojo is a professional engineer with Down Cape Engineering. I'm sure you're all familiar with him, but just to put it on the record.
We submitted also the emails directly from Dan that we can review after the PowerPoint if you'd like, to view his comments along with the heights that he shot. We did go into the town records and uncovered, well, not uncovered, but rediscovered the regulatory agreement on file with this property. At our last presentation, I generally explained that there was a previous approval and that it had lapsed in part due to the financial difficulties caused by the 2008 crisis. I have some excerpts from the agreement, though the full agreement's available in your materials if you wish to review it. The only excerpts I took out was to demonstrate the approved building height, which was not to exceed 55 feet, as shown in those available plans, were in fact approved by the Hyannis Main Street Waterfront Historic District in May of 2005. So this just establishes some of the history of the property and that a taller building was once approved. This is a rendering of the taller building back in 2005 that was before the commission. Red brick, yellow trim, and curiously some burgundy windows which we don't think are manufactured anymore. This shows another Main Street rendering of the building. The roof being 4 feet 4 inches taller than what we're presently proposing. Here's a view of the east elevation of that building down Ocean Street. And here is a sort of mock-up of the proposed building in relation to the street next to Jack's, and the buildings
Excuse me 1 second.
beyond
So you
it.
can see this. Okay.
It's dated here at the bottom, March, I think that's March 2205.
I guess it is.
Okay, thank you.
No, wait a minute.
Full size.
6. No, it's a 5, correct.
So just to kind of bring us back, this is what was before you in February of this year. This was our proposed building showing the black windows, the gray brick, the gray siding. Some feedback from the commission was that it was too modern, that the red brick should be reused or repurposed or put back to give credit to the old historic building. There was a plan that we submitted. There's been no changes to this since the last meeting. It's in here just for reference. The site plan remains the same, number of units remain the same, parking spaces, setbacks, all remain the same. There was a comment from the chairwoman regarding how trash will be handled. The trash is being proposed to be kept indoors with double wide swinging doors so that light duty truck could access the trash. They might back up, load it into a bed, drive out, or potentially take it out by hand, but light duty truck is far more likely. Under these circumstances, we do not want trash trucks parking on Main Street. So the trucks will be utilizing the town lot to the rear through the garage door and accessing the indoor trash room. Here was our north elevation presented February 19th of 2025. Here's the revised north elevation. We're losing some windows on the front because we sought to match the renderings. If you may remember, there were small inconsistencies between the elevation plan sets and the renderings. With Jonathan's assistance, we believe we've cleaned everything up so that the renderings match the elevations. At our last hearing, we represented that the renderings were what we were looking to, were more closely in what we were looking to propose. Now these elevations match those.
Would you mind going back one slide and then coming forward
Yes.
again, now that we're doing a comparison?
Yeah, of course. You'll also notice in the top corner, this was shown to be hardy plank. This is gonna change to cedar siding shake. So here's the before and the after. So we have the shingle instead of the hardy siding. We also have shingle up here.
What is the height of the building to the right across the little parking lot?
That's Jackstrom,
Yeah.
Crabshaw.
So-
Jack,
17
feet.
17.
Yep.
So we had to go up 15 is the guideline.
No more than 15, correct.
No more than,
It's important to note that this is a two-dimensional rendering so that you can see these dormers here only because we're looking at the entire building. If you were to scale it with your position on the street, this dormer is not going to be visible because it's very far back, close to the rear lot. That was one of my questions for Jonathan, and he can perhaps explain it better than I can if you continue to have questions for him. Continuing to roll through the proposal, this is the updated elevation, which we're showing a beige siding, not gray, keeping in mind that cobblestone is one of the approved colors in your guidelines. We've also changed the black windows, which are allowed under your guidelines, to white. So we understand that to be the preference of some members of the public and some members of the commission. We've also are showing a red brick as opposed to the Leo's Pub brick and or Puritan brick, which we showed at our last presentation, and also have added gooseneck lighting around the entrances. There's by the signage and throughout. There'll be additional elevations, of course, and renderings, so we can just work our way around the building unless anyone has questions about this specific thing.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
I see the gooseneck lighting that's been added in certain areas, so like for this,
Yep.
like for here, I think that it's, fine because that's an entrance. But this one is still very, very dark, and if that's one of the main entrances, are you putting lighting there just simply because almost a safety issue?
Jonathan,
My name is Jonathan Stone, of Southern Architecture, for the record. That would itself is a recess, so the door is set back underneath that shape, that octagonal shape. So the lighting would be surface mounted inside or recessed inside of that, so underneath that would glow. So you
Okay.
wouldn't have any gooseneck for that, it would just be lit from above the
You see what I mean? In
ceiling.
order to get into the building, you're going through a very dark space, and at
Yes.
night.
Yeah, it wouldn't be dark, there'd be a light on the ceiling of that. If you want to go back to the plan, you can see that that's actually outside. So there would be recessed lighting or surface mounted lighting on the ceiling underneath that.
Thank you for clarifying.
Of course, thank you. Thank you, John. This was the original east elevation shown at our last meeting. You see the first floor is all brick, and that was not in harmony with the renderings provided. So we've cleaned up this elevation. This was the rendering we provided, which shows the issue I just described, that we showed a hardy plank where formerly brick was shown over this garage door. So we worked closely with Jonathan to clean this up, and now the elevation plan matches the rendering, so the building mass is being broken up with some brick and some hardy plank here. The number of windows on this elevation will also match the upcoming rendering of the new east elevation.
And these doors here, that's going into the parking or going into where the trash is?
That's going into the parking. The trash is actually on the other side of the building, closer to Jack's, and that garage door faces the parking lot to the rear.
Okay.
So this is the updated rendering showing the breakup of brick and hardy along with the correct location and placement of windows, which match the elevation plan. Again, we're now to the rear of the building, the south elevation. This was what we showed in February. This was the rendering provided of the rear. Here is the updated south elevation. Note that there is shingle shown on the fourth story instead of hardy plank, but it will be matching color, so just a different texture on the upper story.
And to clarify, the south elevation is located?
Furthest from Main Street, closest to the parking lot.
Facing the town parking lot.
That's what I thought, thank you. Just wanted to clarify also for public.
We have a couple different renderings of this elevation. Here it is from Ocean Street, and here it is almost behind Jack's. Here. So.
And that's probably the one with the trash, is that it?
This is the door to the trash, yep.
What is gonna be in that little, like, empty space in between the two buildings?
It was going to be an improved path. We had conversations of that nature of what would be there, but we'll have a rendering of that elevation I can show you in just a second. So this was what we showed in February. It's all brick, but we described the plan at that time was to do hardy plank, given that this wall wouldn't be visible from a public way and would be basically only visible to pedestrian traffic. We decided to do a mixture of brick and hardy to break up the massing so it wasn't just straight brick, wasn't just straight hardy, breakup of materials to, well, we thought it was a nicer look and also to make it more interesting for pedestrian traffic. But there's no room for vehicles. This would only be visible if you're walking between Jack's and our building to the town parking lot from north to south, or from the parking lot to Main Street, south to north.
And lighting here, I don't see any lights. It's just because from what you had there was a building partition. That's kind of a long walk if you're at night, if you're trying to get to the parking lot.
We don't have any lights shown on this elevation, but that's certainly something we could consider in the future. And here is a rendering, I believe the last rendering we have, of the building from the rear, also showing the west elevation. Jonathan provided us with some additional renderings. So from Main Street, this is actually, you're standing on Main Street. You're not, as I mentioned, you're not seeing those projected dormer on the right side of the building. You're slightly seeing perhaps some beyond the hip ridge line on Ocean Street, because those Balconies start closer to Main Street on the east elevation than they do on the west elevation. So although you see it on the elevation plan, it's not going to be visible to the eye as you're standing on Main Street, making a 4-story building look like a 3-story building. Here's another rendering showing that you're really not going to see you might barely see a dormer on the west elevation. As you're getting close to that alleyway, you're not going to see it standing across Main Street.
What is that gonna be, that wall there going into the, is that gonna be a fence, a wall, or?
Jack's Drum Shop.
That's Jack's.
That's Jack's
Drum Shop.
It's supposedly Jack.
That's what, it's
Jack's
that,
Drum
on one of the pictures it showed, it was kind of like a wall there, but it's Jack's Drum Shop.
It's just showing, it's
Existing
supposed to be showing
You
the
are going into that lot? then?
Yeah.
Okay, because
Yeah.
I think last time they were, okay, I was confused, all right, thank you.
Can I ask if the lot is part of the same parcel as the existing structure? Is that all one parcel, or is it two separate parcels?
The existing structure is only on 337, 345 Main Street. I take it, it wasn't around, was a movie theater. It was lost to a fire.
But
So it's two parcels.
two parcels.
Two separate parcels?
Yeah.
Owned in common,
Right.
By one person?
yes. Yep. I think we're getting closer to the end. This is just this is the same view I shared with you earlier of the red brick, which leads us to some demonstrables. Marcello, could you get the materials and pass them around? Jonathan.
I want to just jump back one.
Yeah, go ahead, Jonathan.
Just go back one shot.
These are the bricks from the
Okay,
building.
thank you.
Okay.
Just to answer your question about the windows.
Yes.
So actually go back one more, you can see it better on the last one.
Okay.
So there's that, the round window on the top of this one on the
Pass
right
those
side.
around the other way.
Those are bricks that split with the building, right?
Thanks.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, those are the bricks we took from the actual building and we split them the same way that was done over Puritan.
Yeah,
Those
that's,
are actual-
these
These
are
are
the
the
actual building.
Oh, very nice.
Those are the actual
Bricks from the
building
original
bricks.
building split.
Much better than these.
No, no, no.
And can I ask the white,
These are the actual
Yeah.
buildings.
They look good.
What's the question?
The white,
Marcelo, the white,
The window.
What is that white? Marcello, what's the white on that?
This,
this one here.
this over here is gonna be the frame right here,
Band.
right there.
Oh, okay. I'm okay, just wanted to clarify things.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good looking brick.
I don't wanna get your laptop, you got it? Yep.
So sad.
Can I ask you to go back a couple, I'll tell you when to stop, it's 2 or 3.
Okay.
There, that'll do.
Okay.
Going through the plans, I was going through this and trying to make sense of it.
Plans are wrong, though.
I'm trying to
No, actually,
address
these match.
some of the
This-
height. I think I know the answer, but I'd like to clarify it. Because this is the top floor. Why is that so high? Is that because that's where all the machinery and everything is, or what?
Why is the ridge so tall?
Yes.
More bricks.
Jonathan?
Well, so it pitches back, so it's difficult to see in this, it's perspective back. If you actually, this is the 3rd floor, there actually is living space above that floor, you just don't see it from the front. So it actually has a 4th floor, you just don't see it from this side. So
Oh, I
that
see.
see what I'm saying? So if
Oh,
you went, if
okay,
you went to
now
the
that- yeah,
side
yeah,
elevation,
yeah,
you'd see
you're
those
right, you're right,
dormers with the
you're right.
shakes on it. So we don't have that on this, on the front facade.
Okay, now, I see what you're
But the
saying.
perspective is, if you're looking at, if you were on the street, this is from far away, you'd have to remove the buildings across the street from you. If we were across the street, you probably wouldn't see much of that ridge at all. That's why those other perspectives, if you go forward a couple,
You're right, yeah, I did get that, no, I'm just.
the other way, yeah.
Okay.
So see how you don't see that roof at all from here? This is about across the street. Those other images were just so you could see the overall picture, so what you end up doing is forcing the angle a little bit. So this is actually what it will look like from the sidewalk across the street.
So that's what it looks, can you show me again
The other corner,
this
yeah,
side, this, not this, but that, okay.
keep going, keep going.
Okay.
Yeah, I know which one she wants.
I feel like I went the wrong way.
Yeah, you got the wrong way.
Yeah, I think you are.
That one,
Right there.
that one. So that's also from just about across the street. That's actually kind of in the middle of the street. So you don't see that front roof at all from the front, but you do see the dormers on the side. On the
Gotcha.
Ocean Street side.
Okay. And then the part that's so high is on the parking lot side?
Yes, yep. Yeah, the units on the top floor are pushed towards the back.
I wasn't sure because quite often, you find that what's up there is like the air conditioning and all that kind of
Mechanical
stuff. That's why I
equipment.
wanted to clarify what that was. Okay, thank you.
There probably will be some, but it'll be under that roof if we're gonna have it there. You won't see it, but there'll probably be something on the highest roof, but you wouldn't see that either.
Okay, thank you.
Jonathan, would you like to speak to the windows?
Yeah, I just wanted to point out, just to cover the window comment you made. So the two windows that are in the existing building, we tried to look for some spots that would celebrate them a little bit. So we have that triple window over the front entrance for the residential portion. So we thought if we added that to over that to kind of create like, it's almost like a Palladian window. We think that's an appropriate spot, gives a little relevance to it. And then if you go to the front elevation, or that rendering or whatever, it doesn't matter which one, you can see that the round window that's also on that roof is now on that gable end.
Oh, okay, see it.
Kind of just give a little bit of that as well. Just,
Nice.
I know you asked.
Those are the two existing
So
windows
that
in
we
the building right now.
Yeah, that one shows it as well.
Regarding the brick, there are two ways that red brick can be delivered in the new proposal. One is to physically remove the existing brick, chop it up into a 1/4 inch facade, and do a facade on the existing commercial space on the first floor. So you would be repurposing the existing brick on site. It would physically be on the wall. You could touch it on the proposed building. The other way to do it would be to use a real brick that would match in color. It's called an H&R brick.
Which is right here.
Which is right here, which would match in color but not be the exact as the historic. We expect a lot of difficulty in actually reusing the whole piece of every brick because they have to be demoed.
I understand.
But we think we could salvage a veneer of the existing and repurpose the veneer onto the side.
I like that idea actually, because then in talking about the building, one is saying, this is, can you pass it up a second? I'm still here, you know. The, it has the Barnstable brick.
This is new.
That's no, yes.
I have a bunch of Barnstable brick at my house. I wanted to see the comparison. This is different somewhat. Pass that back to you if I may.
Somebody whose family lived in West Barnstable, it's West Barnstable brick.
Oh, sorry. I find it interesting that for some reason, the previous owners of my house, when they had problems with brick, they just throw it into the lake. So when the water went down, I'm plucking, I got about 40 bricks out. But what is strange is that when a lot of Barnstable brick is bent, it's not consistent like the breeze brick and that you get today. It really is quite unique.
You actually can see it in the render right here.
The sample?
Yeah, you can see how they're twisted, the ones from the building.
Where'd it go?
Where'd it go?
It's over there.
I've got it.
Sample pass. Yeah.
I passed it.
So you can see what you're talking about, how the old bricks are there. These are the bricks in the building.
Just so you can see. So everybody can see.
Yeah, we saw those. We passed
Yeah,
around.
so you can see what she's saying, that they kind of both, they look like a banana.
I was just gonna say like a banana, yeah, okay.
So this, like, what we did, we split these the same way they did at Puritan. You know, when they did the veneer, the whole front of the building. One of the guys that we work with, you know, with the stone business, we import and manufacture distributors of marble and granite and all natural product. And we help them cut it and to do the work.
They look great. They look really good.
Since you mentioned Puritan, that was the backup option in case you saw the red brick and maybe changed your mind, but the backup option would be a veneer to match the Puritan style, which would be a mixture of more browns and darker browns than actual red. So that could also be an option, but we suspected the preference would be the red brick, but maybe seeing it in person might, since it might change your mind, we wanted to give another option. How would the Puritan veneer be done?
It was, it was done, again, each brick you can get 3 pieces out of it. Once the saw cuts them, you're gonna lose from the blade, so you end up with 3 pieces in each brick. And you can see right here, when we did, you can see the cement right here. There was, in the existing building, you can also see the discoloration there. And you can see all the different colors that are in the existing building, like you're seeing right here. There's also a picture of there's a picture of the existing building too.
Yep, that's on the last one, it's up here.
Yeah, right there. So this is the actual building there right now. And that's exactly what you see right there.
You said we actually do the marble and granite and brick. Your company do that, or?
Yeah, we are manufactured for 4 generations in the United States and Europe and Italy. We manufacture all natural stones. We import it. We have a huge warehouse in 80 Airport Road in Hyannis. Used to be the old Cape Cod potato chip warehouse. And we also have a warehouse, 150,000 square feet in Marlboro, which used to be the Apple computer warehouse. So we are the major import and distributor for the whole New England. We also sell containers all over the country.
Nice. I wasn't aware of that. Thank you for clarifying.
You're welcome.
I think that's about it.
Yeah, I think that's it. Unless I have any questions, obviously.
That's it for the presentation?
I believe so.
So I know where I am. So,
I have a quick question.
Sure.
What is the height on the main street side of the building to the facial line?
To the eave?
To the 3rd floor, yeah. Just because you can't really see that 4th floor on the front.
Yeah, I probably have a number on that.
Looks like it'd be about 35 feet.
Yeah, it looks like it is 10, 20, 51, yeah, 35.
Yeah. So it looks like a 3-story building.
Yes, it does.
It does, yes.
Okay. So, any further questions from the commissioners on the presentation? Sure, Commissioner Doherty.
I didn't like this building because it was so big the last time for the plot. And you did a lot of research on the height of the town hall and the height of the steeples. If you go to the east view of this building, these are right next to the road, okay? They look massive, this one especially. That's frontage. That should be frontage because that's Ocean Street. The thousands of people that go to the boats year end, they see that, okay? Again, you're gonna have a garage coming out, onto Ocean Street where there's enough traffic anyway. I still feel, I commend you, you did a lot of work. You did a lot of research here. To me, this building is not for the village of Hyannis. It is too big. When you come along the gun shop, we're supposed to be up 15 feet, correct? And we're up how high?
17, right, didn't you say?
Reading the guidelines. We added brick, we added white windows, but I still think it's wrong for the property.
Madam Chair, if I just may respond. You say it's not right for the village of Hyannis. Cape Cod Commission and the town fathers would disagree with you.
That's fine.
It's called the growth incentive zone.
That's fine.
And the idea is to put structures like this with the density downtown where we have the infrastructure to support it. And that's the whole idea, and that's why they changed the zoning. The reason they went to the 4 floors was because it's very expensive to redevelop small parcels of land in downtown Hyannis. So it may be your personal opinion that it doesn't belong in Hyannis, but the commission disagrees with you, and the town fathers disagree with you, and our zoning ordinance disagrees with you. You have a guideline that talks about 15 feet. To suggest that to redevelop, you want this piece redeveloped, you talk about what people are seeing going down to the docks. What are they riding by now? And you want that property redeveloped. The
I'm
only
not
way to
saying I don't
redevelop
want it
it is
redeveloped.
with
I
density.
want it redeveloped, but I just don't want a wall of buildings now going down Ocean Street.
Well, what do you have now? It's an ugly wall.
I said it needs to be developed, and maybe developed not like this. That's my opinion, okay? That's my vote.
I just wanna, I wanna address something on that, and I know, I see two other hands, everybody gets to say, and three hands. Everybody will have a say. Just on that point, it came up earlier on the presentation, where it was mentioned, and then we kind of moved on very quickly, the 15 feet, or being 17 feet, no, it's supposed to be 15 feet, which I think is what you were just saying. I think you're going back to that part. Where is that discrepancy?
17 feet was the height of Jack's drum shop. That's where 17
That's
came
what it was
in.
on. Okay, that was what that
We were
was.
supposed to go
Compare-
15 from there.
Compare your, I'm sorry, if I may.
That's right.
Compare your 15-foot guideline to what's actually there.
By the way, can I just stop one thing? It's not a guideline, it's a regulation. And I think that's something we've gotta put out there, because I hear people talking about guidelines. That's not what this is.
Correct.
That document is two parts. It's regulation, how it must be, it's guidelines, how, well, we can kind of maybe change that a little bit or something like that. So I hear that all the time, so I just wanted to kind
Absolutely
of put that out there.
Could we read that? Could you read that, Kev?
I've got a whole bunch of stuff to talk about.
Okay.
I'm ready to talk with whenever you guys are ready.
Because that seems to be, and I'll just put it out right here, this gentleman has been here now 2 times, spent tens of thousands of dollars on this. We asked him to go back and make these changes, and he did, and now we're back to talking about 15 feet.
But with all due respect, we talked about that last time as well. That was one of the, in fact, that was one of the reasons why I did not vote for it.
But also, it begs the question, why are we wasting our time on this if the presentation is facially invalid?
Well,
Why are we all here?
we're going to get to that. I'm going to let you, I'm sorry, I forgot your name.
It's Pat.
Pat, I'm gonna let you address that, and then I'm going to try to structure this.
Okay, just point out that in shooting some of the buildings, the actual streetscape that's next door doesn't align with your regulation 15 feet. We have a 55.3 foot to the ridge of the building at 357 Main Street. And the one next door is
24.
Yeah.
So it's a 31-foot difference.
But of course, those predate this. But what I want to, I don't worry, I get what you're saying. But I would like, this is why, Mr. Pacheco, can you read those guidelines, please, the regulations? Because that
So-
seems to be part of where we're starting.
So the ordinance that provides you your authority, which is chapter 112, that establishes your commission. So section 32 of 112, your criteria for commission determinations. So, you know, it's kind of vague in terms of the language, and the guidelines that you have here give you a lot more detail, but, so if I could, I'll read part B, which says, in the case of new construction or additions to existing buildings or structures, the commission shall consider the appropriateness of the size, shape, and location of the building or structure, both in relation to the land area upon which the building or structure is situated, and to building structures in general setting in the vicinity. So you don't have any discretion on this ordinance. You have to adhere to this ordinance because it's part of the bylaws of the town. And then you have your guideline, which you do have discretion in waiving, but it does have guidance that is more specific that will help you determine applications. So for the building form, part A in section 7 of your guidelines, it states, in order to maintain neighborhood historic character, an abutting structure's building height shall be considered when proposing new construction. The proposed elevations, building height directly abutting an existing structure on an abutting property shall not be greater than 15 feet. The moderate height increase shall be maintained for no less than 30 linear feet before an additional increase in height is considered. So size and scale.
Read that last line, please, again.
The moderate height increase shall be maintained for no less than 30 linear feet before an additional increase in height is considered.
Thank you.
So your ordinance, you regulate scale, form in your ordinance, in your guideline, which you do have discretion with, but it does provide you clear insight as to how to determine your application. So, and this is a particular section that applies to this application.
Okay. I'm gonna start with Commissioner Matthews, and I'm gonna work my way around. I wanna make sure everyone has a chance to speak.
Can I just ask a question,
Please,
Corey?
absolutely.
Just very quickly, Corey, it's a yes or no question. As written, our guidelines, do they prevent us from approving this because of its height?
No.
They don't, because a lot of it is on discretion. But we did painstakingly go through the guidelines and the ordinances. We wanted them to match, because for the longest time, they really didn't match. And we wanted to clean them up and be consistent with planning board. That was part of the whole reason for the last 8 years we've been trying, in the last 3 years with the subcommittee, the last 8 years trying to get it to, let's make things match so we're not, you know, like the child that says, mommy won't give me the cookies, so I'm gonna go to daddy type thing. Okay, let's start with Commissioner Matthews.
So I've been doing a lot of looking into this because this is an issue that we're dealing with and it's coming in front of us a lot. And I still think clarity stays, to be honest with you, and that's not the word I don't mean to be rude. Your regulatory agreement was from February of 2007, so that was, 18 years ago. The ordinance to go to 4 floors was only changed 2 or 3 years ago. Am I correct? So
About 2 years ago. Yeah.
So it was 3 floors, and then it became 4.
2.5 floors.
2.5 floors. So it went 2.5 to 4. So changing that ordinance with the zoning board allowed now the larger, obviously 4-floor, buildings here on the Cape. Or excuse me, in Main Street, Hyannis. Now, planning and HHDC have agreed to these new regulations and guidelines. Now, again, they're regulations, they're guidelines, and except for the outdoor art portion, which was not approved.
Page 46.
Both boards have approved these regulations and guidelines. So in my head, and correct me if I'm wrong, commissioners with me, these are the ones we're going with, because that's what we've come together and voted on with the planning board. Okay, here's your guidelines. The general law that he just talked about, the bylaw, it says in section 11232, section A, says our commission shall consider historical architectural value, significance of the site, the building structure, the setting or place, the general exterior design, scale, color, placement on the lot, including dimensions and setback, arrangement, proportions, texture, material of the building or structure. And the key here is that there's more to say, but in the position of such buildings or structures in relation to the streets or ways into other buildings or structures near it. So, and our decisions have to be defended by the courts, or in a court of law, saying that they're not arbitrary or capricious. We're not giving you more rules or different rules than we give a building at the street, or what the case is, because we'll be challenged on it. So, I would like to challenge, if anyone's listening here, I'd like to challenge the town council, because there's obviously too much going on here. And I, for one, am frustrated by this commission being looked at as the bad guy, when we're just trying to, that's why we built this new regulation and guideline things. We don't want to be capricious, we don't want to be the bad guy. We want, tell us what we can do and what we can't do. The courts say one thing, the zoning says another thing. Our planning at HHDC says one thing. It's still too much up in the air, even though we put this together. Now, if you're telling me that, and this is what I'm assuming, and again, fellow commissioners, let me know, every ruling or everything that I think or vote I take is based on this, because these are the new regulations and guidelines we are given.
Yes.
I'm not thinking about the ordinances. I'm not thinking about the bylaws. I'm thinking about this, because this is what the court tells me I can do.
Well, that matches up with the ordinances.
You often quote it, too.
So, yeah, and I read it all the time when we get to things we talked about signs. But I go to this and what are we doing? Are we doing the right things? So, though I think this is a beautiful building, and I think you've done phenomenal, and I actually like the white windows now in the brick, and I love it. But when I read this regulation that says, page 20, which Corey had read, that subset 8.4, part 1A, no greater than 15 feet to the abutter. The abutter is 17 feet, even though it's unofficial. This building's 50.8. It's not there.
that doesn't make that regulation work. And I appreciate the fact that you're saying, well, maybe you don't do that. This is what I'm using. This is my Bible, so to speak, on what we're doing.
Right.
And if the town council wants to change it, it's on you guys. Go and fix it. And then that way we'll have all one thing and there'll be no yelling and be upset and people expect, because I feel bad for owners like Marcello who comes in here and he's really doing his best to get a new building up and he wants to, obviously he wants to make money, but he wants to renovate the area, make it look good. And he comes in and spends time after time, as you folks do, and you can't get anything done because we still have no clarity. So that's my whole problem with this whole structure at this point in time. And again, I apologize for how many times you have to come in. I'm just basing my decisions and thoughts on what's in this book.
Can I make a suggestion that all the commissioners, because rather than addressing
I just want to respond to one.
I was going to give you a chance to respond to everybody, if that's okay.
Well, he's describing it as regulations and their guidelines, the 15 feet. He specifically called it a regulation. It's not a regulation, it's a guideline which you have the authority to waive.
It's not, it's a regulation.
It is a regulation.
I'll show you right here. It's a
It is
regulation.
a regulation.
But Corey
There
said
are
that we
parts
have
that are
discretion,
regulations
Yes,
and
so then
parts
it's
that are
not a
guidelines.
regulation.
You're not a lawyer, Kevin, I mean.
No, I'm not a liar.
Yeah,
And again,
I just play one on TV.
one of these commissioners.
Okay, can we have order, please? Just not everybody speaking at the same
I would prefer,
time.
just as a commissioner, that we're allowed to speak and say our piece, and then they can respond and clarify
That's
all
what
of
I
us.
would like to
Yeah.
do, and no disrespect intended, because
Yeah,
I
not
don't
at
want
all.
it to get into everybody speaking at the same time either. Commissioner Cronin, you had your hand up.
Yes, I would like to mimic or repeat what we said earlier, is that the way that I see that the presentation hasn't really changed much as far as what we've described before, which is the next height regulation next to that building. And I think that we're missing that also, is that even though Ocean Street, and that's frontage on Ocean Street, so it's the same thing. It's just, you've got to, we'd like to try to see that be more in line with what we've looked at as trying to maintain the character of Main Street, which was not the massive structure that is there. And, the fact that something was approved in 2006, I think we have to just, or 2005, we have to kind of, step back and say, well, no, that's not today. I think that what's there now, we can't use that as an excuse. It's somebody's building and they're leaving it the way that it is. It's not something that, well, gee, it's better than having that there. You've also got the building next door, which was the old Cape Cod Time building. That's, another one that, looking at Main Street, what we're trying to do is maintain the character of the historic district, which is what we have our guidelines for. So I would look at this and say, I don't see any different. I like the fact that we've got some brick that they could, challenge it and use it. I don't see this as being something that came back and said, well, here's what we're going to do. We took your ideas, we took your examples that are in your guidelines and in your regulations, and this is what we're gonna mimic it. So, again, I'm at the same place that I was before.
Even though not everybody can vote, everybody can have a say. Commissioner Watson, I believe you had your hand up as well.
Right, I walked by just to get square away the existing building. I walked by that building 3 times today, I work on Main Street. I've renovated 2 million square feet of older buildings. That's what I do. I don't build new buildings. And that building isn't worth saving. That's just on that, yeah. So,
I don't think anyone's disputing that.
No, I wanted to say that I was not.
We haven't voted on it yet, but I don't hear any problems with that.
okay. I really like the design of this building. I think it represents progress. There's been so many colonial type buildings on Main Street torn down. I think there's only a few left right now. The Hinckley House, one of the nicest looking buildings on Main Street is Marcello's Torino's. And that's the type of work Marcello does. He does fantastic work, very high quality, and he maintains his properties really well.
does, indeed, I agree with you.
The thing I like about this is that there's a lot of 2 bedrooms. Tom was saying last week, everything's 1 bedrooms now. There's no 2 bedrooms. And this has a lot of 2 bedrooms. The intersection there, I have to disagree with Tom. I think that Center Street and Main Street is the busiest intersection. I see cars, my office is right on the corner there. I see cars come through there 10 times more than on Barnstable Road to get onto Main Street. I don't think that there's much walking along that side of the building that Tom referenced. Most people walk either through the village there, the town green, and very few people walk down Ocean Street. It's not a highly walked area. A few other. So that's it for me. I love the building as it is. If there's any way to approve it, I'd agree to approve it.
Commissioner Cronin.
Okay, on the guidelines, I'm going by what Corey said, which is that's a matter of discretion and not an up or down. Because if something is an up or down, it shouldn't be coming to us. It should just be like, sorry guys, you don't make the cut. Come back with something that meets the guidelines. And I just feel for any applicant who spends all this time and money. And we're back to square one. I just don't think that's fair. And technically speaking, if the lot next to the existing property is a vacant lot, is that considered an abutting property or is Jack's?
Jackson.
It is.
Jack's
They
is-
both, yeah,
But if they're
both
two separate parcels, and the parcel we are dealing with is tearing down a building on an existing parcel, and then building into an adjoining parcel, does that mean that we're not gonna look at the current state of the vacant parcel as the abutting landowner, the abutting parcel? Do you get my logic?
I wouldn't, personally, I wouldn't, because the building's gonna take over that whole parcel anyway.
Well, that's the question,
So the
though.
next abutting property would be Jackson.
So what do you look at? Do you look at the situation now or the situation as it's proposed?
Or
So
how it was. And if you
Or
wanna
how-
look at it how it was, just take a look at the picture of Main Street when the theater was there.
You can't do that.
And I guess my next point is, has anyone talked to Jack?
Actually, that's a very fair point, because you should have the abutters' permission on that. And I think we have an answer coming up, and I will ask you to remember to answer that. That is a very valid thing.
And just, it also creates a situation where we're now saying that this property can only be used up to 32 feet and not an inch above that. What are the economics of that? We're saying that you've got to find a use that will be profitable for you at 32 feet. I mean, we're gonna be staring at that vacant lot for a long time. But then it's this other situation. So let's say someone does come around it, and now we've got a 32-foot structure. Well, now Jack can tear down his building and go up to 47 feet. So it kind of creates these weird inconsistencies, which is why I think it needs to be looked at as a whole. And I love this design. I think it's great. I think it's necessary. I defer to everyone's expertise when it comes to the nuts and bolts of construction. But I know that vacant lots, vacant buildings invite trouble and they create blight. And we don't need more of that. So that's how I feel.
Okay. I do want to talk, but I like to go last. Commissioner Wentworth.
So, we had quite a discussion recently about another application that was before us further down Main Street. And that applicant had a very tall building and came back to us multiple times. I'm very sympathetic to that kind of effort. However, when it comes to what we do, we're very different than the planning or building or any of the others. We have a different mission here. And that applicant came back to us with a very nice, there was sky left, there was green space left, and it was a significant change to what they had presented to us on those rentals. So I'm encouraged that those kinds of changes can be brought to planning. I'm grateful that I do understand the expense of what's happened here. That's not my mission, and I'm sorry to tell you that, but that's not my mission. What troubles me the most is that I continually ask how we are expected to preserve the historic and architectural character of Main Street Hyannis when you look at the building as it was and as we've known it. And I may have told you all at the last time that I have a picture of my very old Impala, Chevrolet Impala, in front of the theater when it was, right after it was burned down. And all the timbers and things were still there. So I remember, and I don't see the historic character here. I think it's a beautiful building. But what I was hoping for, and had an opportunity at the last meeting to mention, if these kinds of roof lines can be facades that can really help change that height structure along the way. And whether you use this window, and I saw the representative of the peak up high and the slightly Palladian. I'm not sure that would qualify as Palladian, but it's a suggestion, the little half moon over a fairly contemporary window. This is where I struggle with this project. I'm not concerned about the west view. I'm a little bit concerned about the east view, but the south view, not at all. It's the corner and the front of the building as it connects with the Masonic building and the church and just some of the buildings that I think do represent the historical character. And you are 100% right with what you say as far as if we had to do this in a court of law, but that's not how we're tasked. We're not tasked that way. And we do have some discretion. And there are times when I feel like maybe one more time, one more try might bring back some of these very beautiful, I'm sorry it's in disrepair. I see it too every day. And by the way, I do go down Ocean Street to get to my house. And I do know when the ferries are coming and going. To Kevin's point, and Tom's point, there are a lot of people going down that street, sometimes walking in the street. So there are a couple of things that I would be concerned about on the Ocean Street side of it. But that's my point, is that I feel strongly that I don't see, I appreciate the shingles. I appreciate the brick. These are structural, these are the things that imprint your mind on the history of it, and that's where I struggle with.
Okay.
Thank you.
Commissioner Kay.
Well,
And by the way, if you don't want to say your comments, I'm not asking you to vote now or anything, but I think every hand went up, and I did see yours go up. But if you don't want to say anything, that's also fine.
that's okay. One of the things, I'm the oldest member on this commission.
Come on.
Sure about that?
And I'm still
My
alive.
God.
Maybe not.
Really.
Well, I'm 29, how about you?
And I've watched Main Street for many, many years. My family started here in 1928. None of these buildings are current ancient building. Will be here in 20 years, not one of them. So some of these buildings are in such poor shape that they're never gonna last. And there's gonna be a replacement. And if the whole of Hyannis Main Street has to get accustomed to watching the old dogs die, we have to be prepared to deal with this. The thing that I feel most interested in is, after being on the subcommittee that did the guidelines, the guidelines were a desperation on our part to try and preserve the ancient and the old and the classic. We have a zoning board and a planning board, which is less responsible for what zoning is doing regarding building sizes. And the fact that they didn't sit with us as a commission and say, we're gonna allow 4-story. You can make your guidelines for your antique buildings, but we're telling you what, we're gonna say 4 stories is cool. That sets us up for failure. And I don't appreciate being in a corner where I know we're gonna get into a situation like this when millions of dollars are being invested by people coming into this area to bring it up, wake it up, make it better. And the struggle with them is to comply with our guidelines and without what we have been tasked to do by our town council. And if they're going to only let us use our right hand, left hand is in our back pocket because they have said 4 stories is fine. We're doing a disservice to the people that are coming to this town to try and make our town better. And the struggle to make it antique better is not where modern America is going. And at some point, we've got to decide what we're gonna do. Are we going to roll over and go, we gotta start letting this stuff in because we need the rooms. We need the housing.
Yeah.
We need the progress. We need the strength and beauty of new buildings. But if we try to fight to make them old looking, it's a terrible game, especially if we're cornered with height. In my firm, we build 18, 20-story buildings all the time. So I'm into major high-rise construction, some mid-rise, but mostly high-rise. But my whole career started in the antiques. I replaced wooden sills on Route 6A on buildings that were built in the 14s and 1500s.
Wow.
And I've done it. And what we used to do, because they had a central fireplace with a central chimney with 4 fireplaces, that was the only heat. We would go and break the flashing off the chimney, pick the house up, replace the bottom, and put the house back down. We can't do that now. We can't do it now. So I think at some point, we need to approach the town council.
Amen.
And tell them, we need help. And the people, these gentlemen have devoted a tremendous amount of effort and a tremendous amount of time. And I think the governing of this town needs to sit down and tell us, this is something that we all have to deal with, and privately with us, but publicly, we have to come to this needs to end. It needs to end. I thought we did a great job. Tom was one of us on the special committee that did that whole thing, and of course Cheryl. And we dedicated almost 3 years to this. And now we're faced with this, and it's starting to become painful. And I would appeal to all of us and these gentlemen. I almost feel like I'm betraying what we stand for if we just pull our hands over our eyes and go, we're gonna let you guys go ahead and do this. But another part of me says, I'd love to have you do it. I'd really like to see that kind of progress. So I'm not at a point where I can go yay or nay, but there's a fairness here that I don't feel. And I look at the youth in here and I go, this is agonizing for me. We try so hard to improve our lives and make sure that the youth here, that they have a good life. And if I'm choking off the opportunity that these men are offering us, because I've got an ordinance or a guideline that says you can't do it, It's not right. It's not right. So I'm at that point.
Okay. Commissioner Doherty, thank you.
I said my piece before, but I agree with Jack and Kevin. You know, we worked so hard on these guidelines, and we were on the committee that did it, and what do we do it for? You know, if we could just override it and, you know, just go on. This was a regulation. Until we get more direction from the town council, I think we should go with the guidelines. I understand you guys came in and you did a lot of work, yeah, but I'm not a fan of that building. That's me. I don't like the east side, like Laura said, that's frontage. There's a lot of other things we have besides the guidelines from me. But right now, I think we should stay with the guidelines and get direction from the town council. Because I'm sick of being in these positions and becoming the bad guy.
Yeah.
Every time that we do this and being called names. So that's where I am.
Commissioner Clark, did you want to say something?
I would just really continue on Jack's, Commissioner Kay's point of view and, yeah, less about the project, more about just procedure in our meetings here. It just seems like we do hit a threshold and we're overmatched and these meetings just totally disintegrate. And the whole tempo of the room changes and it's not fair to the applicant. They know the way it's going, you know, but we have to treat, it would just be my opinion, each project the same way, and they just get treated wildly different. Just look at the different applicants tonight, you know. Why does one presentation go on for 45 minutes and the person's interrupted every 30 seconds and someone else goes up and skates right through? I think you should really create a more uniform system in addition to work on the guidelines and stuff so that this doesn't happen. One applicant shouldn't be here for 2 hours and another one's here for 10 minutes. It needs to be smoothed over and yeah, I'm sick of being in these positions as well. And nothing's gonna get done here tonight. We're gonna keep talking for another hour, so we'll be comfortable, but we all know where it's going. It's like we
give them our time because we want to help you. I want to, before
yeah,
I
it's
say
a good thing to say, but you know.
Before I turn over to you, I want to ask you a question. Do you have something from the abutter?
Do you want to discuss, when's the last time you spoke with Jack?
Today,
What did Jack have to say?
he's very nice. He's very happy with what we're doing.
So, okay, I just wanted to ask that question because it is something I would want. I'm going to, I mean, one of my tasks is to try to read the room and to see where things are. And also to see, we try very, very hard to help our applicants. We really do, to the point that we do sometimes take more time. But, you know, we're here to do a task. And there's a number of things that have been said. Laura, you had mentioned that you didn't feel that much had changed, and you spoke of the character. Neil, you know, it's up and down, but you were also talking about regulations and guidelines, and there's our regulations. It's missing page 46 because we still haven't ironed that out. I will say with regard to the subcommittee, that happened because I pushed for it. When I came on to about 8 years ago, when I came on to the commission, it was like, this one says this, that one says that, and then it goes to planning and it says this, and it goes to appeals and says that. And we needed to make it uniform. And we had, as Commissioner Kay has mentioned, we've worked very hard. The ones on that committee are Commissioner Doherty, Commissioner Kay, myself, head of planning, that would be Mr. Kupfer. Corey, were you at the last meeting as well? I wasn't sure if you came to that one. You might, I
Joint
think,
meeting?
yeah, for the subcommittee.
I was not there.
I wasn't sure. And also the head of, the chairman of planning, and he often has another person from the planning board in, so that we cover and we're all consistent. We've worked hard on those, and we've also agreed that we'll be meet after once everything is done and dusted. We're still gonna meet every 3 months because new things come up that need, oh, wow, we didn't realize that. Let's fix this so that we keep, so it's a living document. Anyway, as Commissioner Wentworth had mentioned, we have a different mission than a lot of the other boards. Ours has to do with the, with the character and other things that are not in any other regulations for other boards and guidelines. I will say, I like this building. I think you've done a great job with it, and I recognize and fully respect the very hard work that's gone into it. And I don't think, and again, we haven't taken a vote, but reading the room, and I could be wrong, I don't think there's anyone here who disagrees that it's gonna have to come down, disagrees on the demolition. I think it's a matter of trying to make this work. We I think it was about a year and a half, 2 years ago, there was something that came up and I presented to the town council, how hard we try to make our applicants' stuff work, or their applications work. And I think I gave a report of about a 3-year thing and 100%, and I think we had turned another year we had turned one down, and another had to come back to us 3 or 4 times, and eventually it worked. We try to make it work, and sometimes it takes tweaking. And I also recognize the shingles and the brick and how hard you've tried to accommodate us. Not us, but the requirements that we have. And Commissioner Kay forgot to mention, he's also a licensed architect, so we rely on him heavily for some of the architectural components of, have you thought of this, have you thought of that? Taught us a lot about architecture. And I think you also mentioned, we all agree there's going to be a replacement, and we want a replacement for when that comes down, and we want it to work. So Commissioner Doherty, you had voiced some of your feelings, and also feeling that we want something there, we want it to work, but we have to also make it correct. Commissioner Matthews, you also mentioned, that it's regulations, we have to keep it. The problem we have is if we make exceptions for one, we're kind of setting a precedent that we have to make exceptions for others. I think from what I'm reading here, it's the height structure. The abutter, I'm sure the abutter can, it's a simple letter and because it sounds, Mr. Rosello, like there's no problem with getting him to confirm he's fine with it, correct? So I just need, it's more of a check off the box deal. As for Commissioner Clark, I know you say that you're sick of it and you can't treat it differently. I agree that you can't treat it differently, but we're here to actually do everything we can to help the application work in one way or another. Mr. Pacheco, I'm going to ask you to confirm again with regard to the regulations that we have, where it is slightly different on what Commissioner Matthews has said.
Okay, can you repeat that question again? Sorry.
Sure. If you could confirm what Commissioner Matthews had mentioned with regard to the discrepancy and where there was a problem or potential problem, although it also discretionary.
So I've only been here 10 months, and you guys were part of this process for the last 3 years, so hopefully your understanding of it is better than mine. But my interpretation is that there's the zoning changed in the growth incentive zone, and the regulations that if you look at the zoning, there's a bunch of different zoning districts in the growth incentive zone, and there are different types of regulations you have to meet in terms of like building length, and you have to break up building length. So that's what I interpret as the regulation.
Exactly.
And these guidelines are the guidelines that you use to review applications. So, I mean, it states it specifically, unless specifically waived by the commission. So you have that discretion for these guidelines, but the zoning is a different animal underneath. Then there's a lot of different aspects of the zoning that the developer has to meet to conform to the zoning. Yeah. And so that's what I interpret as the regulations within the growth incentive zone, which the planning board has some purview over, but you also have purview within your district, which is kind of within that growth incentive zone. So that's my interpretation of what the regulations and guidelines are. But I've been here for 10 months, so your interpretation seems to be a lot different than mine.
Could I ask Corey one quick second?
Yes, I think I know where you're going, it's what I was gonna ask,
So
but
my
go ahead.
question is in this, in your opinion, what is the regulation? Is it the ordinance from with the zoning board? Or is it the planning and board and HHDC regulations and guidelines? What supersedes what? Because that's what I think I'm looking for the town council.
Your authority comes from chapter 112, and the chapter 112 has your criteria for determinations. It's not very specific in terms how you look at each application, but you do review things based on size, shape, material, color, things of that nature, and you have the discretion when the application comes, based within that, those determinations, the criteria.
So basically zoning and HHDC planning right now are like this.
Not necessarily, let me address that a little bit if I may.
Then why did we do that? Then why did we do that?
Commissioner Doherty, if I can just, correct me if I'm wrong on any of this, but there's the zoning and this planning. Planning now has the same, they don't deal with character and historical, although we have put our historical purpose in the planning, not we and the planning board have put in the planning board's guidelines the historical requirement that we have and the character. So if that's in the one that's been accepted by both boards. But they don't determine on the character and the historical, they determine on, although they have to pay attention to our purpose. But we have our own parts in there that pertain particularly to our purview. I think.
But isn't that confusing? Like they're going
confusing.
to zoning and saying, we want a 4th floor. All right, great, have a good, then they're coming to planning and HDDC, and we're like, no, you can't do, that doesn't make sense. I mean, we need to have one.
It's the zoning has come up with the 4 floors, they have passed that. So what I'm reading here is, everybody on this commission likes the project. We want it to work. I don't think there's anyone that says.
Not necessarily true.
We like the idea of a building being there, because we don't think that there's.
Being developed, that's
Right.
Being
necessarily.
developed, yeah,
Not
we're not
necessarily
saying that
specification.
building has to stay up. I don't think there's anyone that's saying leave that building up.
No.
I love the idea of repurposing the brick, and I love the idea of the facade and slicing it up, and the shingles and everything else. It's unusual, but it's certainly been done many times where someone, and you know this because you've come back with some of your clients, and it works, I know. But I still think this can work somehow. What my suggestion would be, and it's only a suggestion, and I hate to ask you to come back again, is to take on board some of the things that we've said and try to address it. My feeling, and this is where I'm gonna ask for input, it's the height. And I do appreciate that in order to make it work cost effective, you need so much space on it, but maybe trying to adjust that roof a bit. I like that you don't really see all of it in the front, but maybe it can be adjusted somehow. Mr. Marcelo, I know this must be very difficult for you because you just want to do something really nice for this town and develop it, and I think that's fantastic. And you've done so well on other things. So that's where that's my suggestion.
Cheryl,
Yes.
I would only object in saying that if there is a significant number of commissioners who believe nothing over 32 feet,
Well, that's one of the
Then-
things to take into account.
then what's the point?
Well, maybe it can be adjusted to not over the.
There's a 33-foot gap. Maybe if it was 15, maybe if it's 12, maybe if it's 16, some of us might go, all right, that, like we said, we could override or something like that. I just think 30 feet, 33 feet is a lot of space.
It is a lot
And it's
of
gonna make, you're gonna go here, over to here, up, it's just gonna look bad.
We have some
So,
discretion, but.
I just think that we could find a way to make things look, I agree with Cheryl, but it's just so drastic.
Okay, please.
Your focus is all on jacks, and I think that's the wrong focus. It's like, we've got the building that we're not gonna tear down until we get approval to do something. We just
Yep.
can't do that. We have a vacant lot.
Yep.
We have jacks. So if we buy jacks, can we go to 55 feet like the building next door to Jack's?
You go to.
And then we'll build this building
No.
at 55 feet also, 5 feet higher than proposed? That's what you're telling me your guidelines say, there's no building next to Jack's.
You go 40
On
feet.
one side.
You go 40 feet.
No, 15 feet.
24 is the t-shirt shop, so you get 15 feet on top of that. You got 40 feet. You could build a 40-foot building, sure.
The building next door is 55 feet.
Yeah.
So we can go within, I thought, 15 feet of that building.
But your t-shirt shop's 24. If you're gonna buy both of those buildings, that's a different story.
Get rid of both of them.
So you're just gonna buy Jackson the other one.
And somebody's gonna buy those two buildings.
Sure.
And redevelop that parcel.
Mm-hmm.
And that, under your guidelines or regulations, I'm still not clear, they're gonna be able to go to 55 feet, because the lot next door to that is empty. And now we could.
But you,
I'm gonna jump in there.
with all due respect, I think we're going back
It's gonna
and forth.
depend on the design, it's gonna depend on the character of how it's presented. And I think you're hearing from a lot of us that we are in awe of the way you designed that roof to conceal, you've got a 4-story building and it looks like 3 stories from the front. We've asked that of multiple applicants that have come before us in the last 12 months. And I think you've presented it in a just top-notch fashion of accomplishing that. You could, I mean, if you had commissioners that didn't feel as strongly as they do about the architectural and historic character of Hyannis, you could do exactly what you're, I think, hypothetically proposing. But not from this group. This group takes, I mean, we have such good professionals here that have done this for a very long time, have lived in the town also, know these buildings inside and out, and would like to see a compromise in, even if it's facades, something that doesn't change your square footage and the number of units. We don't want to take units away from you. But if there was something that even someone who had never been to Hyannis before, felt like they were stepping into the historic district. I think that's where, for me, that's where we're going. But I do appreciate the architectural features in here and what you've accomplished. The changes in the roof lines, the changes in the materials, going to the brick and that shingles. I like the railing, even the railings, things like that. I think that's brilliant, but it is big and it is a predominant corner. So I'm hoping, in fact, I would like to even change my own suggestion from earlier. I'd like to see the demolition voted on and then perhaps we
Well,
could
they've
see
already
it.
said they don't want to demolish it until they have an agreement.
Well, I
want-
understand, but I mean, I want them to
They want
see
the eyesore to
that the
stay.
commission
I
has a
think
support
they already know we
for-
have no problem with that. I want to say something as a response to Commissioner Matthews before we go on. We had 3 hands up. Commissioner Matthews, I do want to be careful about giving, yes, you can definitely do this if you get.
Oh, no, I didn't mean to.
No.
Yeah, if I made that.
I wanted to clarify, because you said,
Yeah.
yeah, you can definitely do that.
I'm saying, when it comes to these regulations, it would fit within this, but whether it would fit character-wise, that's not part of that. We talked height.
Well, I just want to respond to Commissioner Wentworth. I understand what you're saying about our building and what could possibly be approved next door. My only point is the height.
The height.
Under your guidelines, regulations, whichever we're gonna call it, if we were developing that project, you couldn't say to us, you can't go to 4 floors. And that's the biggest complaint I'm hearing from at least 2 commissioners and I think several others. And quite frankly, it doesn't make any sense. You can't focus on Jack's Drunk Shop and
I
with
don't
that
think you're
building next
responding to
door.
my comment, you're responding to some other
Well, a
comments, 'cause
combination.
I never said anything about
Well,
not going to
you said
full floors.
we wouldn't necessarily approve it. You might be able to go to 55 feet, but not in front
I
of this
never
board.
mentioned any footage. Roll the
Okay, I
tape.
misunderstood you
Yeah.
then.
Nope,
My
didn't
only
say
point
that.
is, you develop that parcel, and you go to the 55 feet, and now you develop this parcel, and now you can go to the 55 feet.
I understand that
And
premise.
that just doesn't make any sense.
Mr. Kenny, this real.
Can I go down to the corner, please?
To touch on Neil's hypothetical that he posited earlier is, there's a vacant lot here, which we're developing into as part of the proposed building, but an interesting hypo would be, what if the building was only on 337 Main Street? You'd have Ocean Street to one side and a vacant lot to the other. You'd have no adjacent building for which the 15-foot maximum applied.
It doesn't say adjacent building. It doesn't say
I
adjacent
want to just
building.
read this again. General Law 40C, Bylaw, Section 11232A. In deliberating on applications for certificates, the commission shall consider, among other things, historical and architectural value of the significance of the site, building, architecture, setting or place, the general design, scale. This is where you're absolutely right, and you're absolutely right. It's confusing. I'm confused because the zoning has one thing, and we're told to do something totally different. This is why I said before, I challenged the town council to step forth and say, all right, let's get this. This is, because again, it puts us under the hot seat, and we feel bad to have you come here, and it's a beautiful building, and I'd love to say, go. I don't know what to do.
Okay, so.
Excuse me.
Yes.
It says,
Scale.
the proposed elevations building height directly abutting an existing structure on an abutting property shall not be greater than 15 feet. The
Right.
hypothetical I'm positing is, if there are no abutting structures on any abutting properties, this 15-foot maximum increase in height does not apply. Therefore, you could,
Who said that?
It says abutting
If you say,
properties, but it's scale.
a vacant lot
It's
is
scale.
0, so 15 would be the highest you'd put next to a
Correct.
No, no,
vacant lot,
no.
correct?
Yes.
Structure.
I'm gonna ask him,
it says the
Abutting
proposed
structure.
elevations building height directly abutting an existing structure on an abutting property shall not be greater than 15 feet.
But the abutting property has no structure.
Exactly.
So until there's a structure there, that's 0 feet. There's no property, there's no building. So the next thing would be 15 feet.
Now, that can't possibly be
Madam
the
Chair,
intent
I think
of how
what
this is
okay,
written.
Commissioner Cronin.
This is where, with all due respect, this is where it just starts getting
Yeah,
contentious, and we are looking like the bad guy, and two of your commissioners have already seen the outcome of some of that.
okay.
And what we'd like to do is make sure that we don't keep going around these circles. I think we've said it 3 or 4 times. I don't think that there are some of us who think this is good, and we don't have an issue with it, because we haven't gotten that far. We're still looking at trying to come back to where we originally gave some feedback on. We had a picture in the guidelines that said, this is like we'd like to see on Main Street, on our historic district. Ocean Street is frontage at this point because you're going down there. So having that right there just kind of is overwhelming. So I think that if we're gonna keep going around these circles, we're just gonna wind up getting contentious. And I find that interpretations are going over and over about, it's all about money, I get it, because it's an investment, and we all want to see that corner developed. We have no problem with the building, we're not trying to save the building, I think that has been clear. But I just wanna end the conversation, if we could, one way or the other, and not have to keep going back and forth and have a he said back and forth, because to me personally, I'm very uncomfortable doing that again
And I understand why.
and again.
What we do have to do, we haven't had public comment yet. I'll go Commissioner Watson
I
real quick.
just have
and
one
then-
question.
Sure.
Is this a new regulation, this abutting height determination? Is that something new? It's never come up and,
It's the new guidelines that we
Yes, we
just
have.
adopted
It came up on one of our,
so
It
it's
has come
recently
up before.
passed?
with the planning department and us.
November or
I'm-
December? November or December?
I think it was passed in November.
Yeah.
I'm opening it up to public comment. Is there anyone who wants to comment on this? Looks like we may have some.
Nope, all set.
Nope. No,
Well, you
okay.
know, well, there's no space. You know how I feel. It's Elizabeth Worth Fame with Hyannis Main Street bid.
I am gonna ask you to sign in if you wouldn't
Well, I
mind.
can sign
Sorry,
in.
it's a technicality.
She is signed in.
Oh, that's right, you are signed in. But it was that for another one though?
Before, I'll resend it.
Actually, oh, this thing.
Yeah, I like to dot the i's and cross the t's.
Yeah.
Wherever you like, you come here if you wish.
This is great. Well, you know how I feel, that I think it's very important to take down the building that has really been decaying in front of us and been depressing for years. Of course, it has a nice roof line, but what I don't see happening here is I don't see what the vision is. I see what you don't like, which is size. And I go down Route 6A and I see enormous houses that are absolutely beautiful. They have gorgeous details, right? I mean, you have 3- and 4-story houses on Route 6A with columns and gorgeous houses that have turned into bed and breakfast. And so when you talk about old fashioned, what is it we wanna see? Because it's not size that matters, we're talking about taste, right?
This is what happens.
Somebody's speaking.
Oh, sorry, my fault, my fault.
We're talking about details, right? You want
Next
historic.
time, this isn't our guidelines. And you know, I feel bad that you guys came back and you did it, but you were pretty clear when you left the last time. It was a height situation, it was the size of the building, especially on the east side. We held up this is Mashpee Commons, this is in our guidelines. It's 3 stories, 4 stories, variegated, it looks like a town. We held that up and we showed that to everybody. That's the vision I have. I know other people like this building, but this is the vision I have for that corner. I think it's a very, very important corner in town. It's Main Street and Ocean. And somebody says you don't go down Ocean. That's a main thoroughfare in the summertime, going to the boats and going to the beaches, going to restaurants. So I don't want to see just a big wall of apartments there. You know, that's frontage to me. And something like this in Mashpee Commons, they can do 3, 4-story buildings variegated, and it looks beautiful. This building, come on, we've seen this building all over the East Coast. This isn't unique. You put a little brick in here, you put your windows from black to white, and you did a different shingling. This isn't a unique building. This is a unique building that would fit more into Cape Cod, okay? So it's not like we haven't given you direction, all right? So you came back. To me, this is not satisfactory. We have a lot of disruption with what we're supposed to do between zoning and our guidelines that we worked so hard on. So I don't know where we are at this point of the game.
Commissioner Doherty, we do have a person who's standing trying to do public
I'm sorry.
comment.
Oh, that's right. You know,
So
I got carried
I know,
away.
well, I said, what's the vision? And you said Mashpee Commons.
I apologize for being.
So that's also maybe a perspective piece where maybe the planning department is looking at a place like Newport, for instance, maybe, or Plymouth that has a little more density. And, you know, you're looking at Mashpee Commons. So it's kind of we're looking at 2 different overlooking views, right, of a sense of place. So, and that has to be worked out, you know, with all of you, because you're historic, you're about details, aren't you, and color and how the windows look, exterior
not
details.
interior.
So I don't know if you're about, you know, density or how big a building is as much as the
Density
details.
is one of,
Density's one of them?
Density's one of them.
Yes.
So-
density, height,
Scale, yeah,
scale.
fitting into
Then
the,
but then there's the form-based code, so again, this is that question of, you know, what.
But there's,
Exactly.
there's zoning, but then it comes to, in the
Right,
historic
then it comes to
district,
you.
it comes to us
Zoning,
for our.
guidelines.
So if this was,
There we go.
if this was next to a tall building, this wouldn't be a problem for you, or is this gonna move the target every time there's a new building coming in? You know, that could happen, right?
This to me is a generic building. It is
So
not
it's the look of the building.
the look of the building.
There you go, so that could be, I mean, a piece, but, so they did the brick and they did the, you know, the siding, and they did the cupola. For a building this large, is there something that you've seen that is like, is there a detail that's missing that would add that colonial?
I think what's come up here with everybody's.
Sorry,
You're
I'm just trying to
fine,
get
and
to
I apologize, you were
what are we
interrupted.
talking about? I
Yeah.
think it's the
So-
historic details.
There was another hand up, who have I missed? Nobody, okay. In reading the room on the things that have been said, I do wanna find a way to make this work. Was it something you wanted to say? I wasn't sure.
Well, I'm not sure if we should be responding to comments at this time, John, or if we should consider taking them under advisement.
Yeah, I think we've kind of responded enough. I think we know where this is going. So probably ought to ask for continuance, and then we'll consider what we're gonna do.
Okay, that's what I was gonna recommend, because I do think there's a way to make this work somehow, I really do. And it's not like we haven't been here before and it seemed like, you know, we've reached a brick wall, so to speak. Sorry, look at the thing in front of me. I think there's, I just get the feeling there's some way to make this work, and I think if you can take some of the comments, I very much appreciate what you have done so far, but maybe give it some more thought. If each of the commissioners had one thing to say on what they wanted to be addressed, I'm gonna just go around the room, you don't wanna ask until you've already said it all. Commissioner Carley, is there anything you want to be addressed?
No.
Commissioner Watson?
I just think it runs counter to progress. How you can take like Jack's drone shop and use that as
One thing you want to be addressed, that you feel needs to be addressed?
butters, I mean, you know.
Butters, okay.
Yeah.
Commissioner Cronin?
No.
No comment, okay, that's fine.
Yeah, I would like to address the different regulations and zoning ordinances and all that kind of stuff that we have out there and come up with one, the bylaws, come up with one consistent number of when it comes to height, when it comes to all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but we've also got that, but we also have that is in there with the height, but it's also the difference with the 15 feet in that.
No, I know,
So the question
but-
is if it's 0, so we need a clarification on that.
Yeah, on everything.
Commissioner Clark,
I agree with Kevin.
okay. Commissioner Doherty?
I agree with Kevin.
Okay, Commissioner Kay?
Yeah, I kinda agree with Kevin too.
Okay, Commissioner Wetmore?
Mine is in just features that could emphasize, I am not an artist, but if you had that window, the historic, not historic, but the old window design in a featured something, this is, I'm not suggesting you do this, it's the only way I could think of to show you what I was trying to say, is that, and then we had, so something that is, to the front of the building, to me, the most prominent thing is this peak and this window. And on the side, there are little things that we've used on other buildings that are big on Main Street where they moved they instead of a balcony being right on the edge of Main Street, they moved the balcony back and changed the roof line a little bit, some things like that, that just tempered the height, even though it was 4 stories, it tempered the height look by pulling it back and just having a little bit of a balcony. But for me, it's more to say corbels is not, I'm not talking about corbels, but the corbels are the only things I can think of that
Yeah, I don't like corbelling, but I
that
got
would
what you
put something
mean,
in there that would remind them of what you thought about after you drove by that building when it was a viable building.
Okay, I think everything with regard to the zoning and that is all under the heading of the height and the way that it's written, which is one of the things we're trying to iron out. Karen, if you can ask Jim tomorrow and Corey to review that so that we have something a lot of time. I'll give him a call, or he can give me a call, and we may be able to resolve that in a different way and earlier, I don't know.
Could I ask the chair a quick second?
Absolutely.
When's the next town meeting? Wouldn't this be a great thing to walk into town meeting when it's open forum and, public comment and walk in as a member of the HHDC or whatever and put it out to the town saying.
I think we need to do it in a more professional manner and go, because they haven't said, no, we don't want to help you with that. Let's do it in a more professional manner and pay attention to people's positions and ask them.
Report, don't they? There's a committee report on every town council.
No, because it's zoning subcommittee.
So I think that would be inappropriate, to be honest. I wouldn't feel comfortable with that.
I'm just asking.
I want to get this resolved even before that, and see if we can.
Sure.
And see if we can find a solution that is acceptable. but I would like to, are you okay talking, Jim?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll be available,
Well, Corey's here, I'm sure he'll know.
oh yeah, I'm sorry, Corey. I'm used to going this. You've done a fantastic job tonight. Is there anything further that you wanted to say?
With Corey.
Can't sneak out of this now.
Okay. Am I understanding you correctly? The three of you that you're, or four of you, that you're okay with me making a motion to continue this? Is that acceptable?
I don't think so.
No?
You want an up or down?
I want up or down.
Guess we'll ask that you vote.
Okay. All right. In that case, I'm gonna close public comment. You sure you don't wanna continue?
Absolutely not. It's too painful, I've been here too long.
Okay.
I've been working this since 2005. How much longer can I possibly do this?
Okay. No, I have to put it down on the floor. Would one of the commissioners like to make a motion
Can
on
we
the?
decide who can vote?
Oh, yes, absolutely, thank you. So we have,
Conrad can't vote.
and
Conrad's the only one.
Conrad can?
He wasn't at the first one.
He wasn't at the February 19th.
And who else cannot?
Jen, she's not here anyway.
Jen isn't here either. Kevin, you all right being the one to vote?
Sure.
Okay. Would somebody, so I'm gonna respect your request?
I'm good.
Okay, so just, all right. So would one of the commissioners like to make a motion on the finding, the findings?
It's gonna be two votes, Madam Chairwoman, one for the demolition, one for the.
Correct. Do you want me to do them separately or?
Yes.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that, because so far we've been going with both of them.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, so this is on the demolition. Taking that, you're all right with me to take that first? Okay, so on the demolition, can I have one of the commissioners to please make a motion on the findings with regard to the demolition, with regard to this property?
I'm not voting, can I make the motion? No.
I'll make the motion for you. This is on the demolition. I move that the commission find this application to be compatible with preservation and protection of the district at 337 Main Street, Hyannis.
Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Kay. All right, so you're the one not voting and Conrad's not voting. Okay, Commissioner Crowley,
Yes.
Commissioner Cronin,
Yes.
Commissioner Matthews.
Yes.
Commissioner Clark,
Yes.
Commissioner Doherty,
Yes.
Commissioner Kay.
Yes.
I also say yes. Would one of the commissioners like to make a motion on the certificate of appropriateness for the demolition?
Oh, I'm sorry, I'll pick it back up. I move to issue a certificate of appropriateness for the application, the demolition application, excuse me, at 337 Main Street in Hyannis as described in the submitted materials.
Your second.
Second.
Yep. Pick one, yeah. I think it was very much tied. Okay, Commissioner Crowley,
Yes.
Commissioner Cronin,
Yes.
Commissioner Matthews,
Aye.
Commissioner Clark.
Aye.
Commissioner Doherty,
Aye.
Commissioner Kay.
Aye.
I also say aye. That passes. Now, would one of the commissioners like to make a motion on the second part for the new building for this property at 345 Main Street, map 327, parcels 111 and 112?
Go ahead. I move that the commission find this application to be compatible with preservation and protection of the district.
Would somebody like to second that?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Clark. Commissioner Carley.
Aye.
Commissioner Cronin.
No.
Okay. Commissioner Matthews.
No.
Commissioner Clark.
Aye.
Commissioner Doherty.
No.
What?
No.
No.
No, sorry.
Commissioner Kay.
I'm gonna abstain.
Kenny staying.
2 ayes, 3 noes, and an abstention.
2 ayes, 3 noes, and an abstention.
Who was the third eye? You?
No, I haven't voted yet. The 2 ayes were, could you identify
Neil and
Commissioner
Matt.
Crowley? And who was the other one?
Commissioner Clark.
Commissioner Clark. And the 3 noes were Commissioner Cronin, Commissioner Doherty,
And me.
and Commissioner Matthews. And there's 1 abstention from Commissioner Kay.
Doesn't matter, Cheryl.
You need 4.
I'm gonna say aye,
Throw it up.
because I do wanna make this to work. I say that with recognition that it's still not enough, but also in good faith, because I do wanna find a way to make this work somehow. And I wanna stress that, because I think it can be done. So, and I would invite and encourage you to come back to see if we can find some way to make it work. And regardless of what the outcome is, I will still be pursuing this. And you have my word on that, to see if we can come up with something to put forth to you and some answers, because I think you deserve that, and your applicant certainly has it. And I want to thank all of you, all 3 of you, for your patience and for where it is. Okay?
Thank you all for your time.
We hope to see you back.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's a report.
Sorry, I was really hoping it would.
You do have box yours? This one won't be as good, I don't think.
I'm hoping it will. I'm hoping we can find some solutions.
Do you think you'll be back?
Absolutely not.
I didn't think so.
Absolutely not.
No.
So you were working on the one back in 2005 and what, 2008 or something like that? Okay, you had the property, owned the property all this time? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you for all your efforts. Excuse me, ma'am, do you mind if I ask you? Do you mind if I ask you?
Susan Vaughn, Cape Cod Times.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
This is her last article that she wrote about. It is, it was last week, it was good, it was relatively good.
Okay. All right.
Should've gotten an autograph. Should've gotten an autograph.
Read it?
Oh, I read it.
Oh, you're right. Did you say?
Oh.
Okay, remember, we're still in the meeting. Any matters not reasonably anticipated by the chair.
I did want to just bring something up that we talked about before. We talked about potentially putting in our agenda items that had been administrative approvals. Aren't they, is that still something that we could get? There were some things that, I think when Jim mentioned, there are some things that don't come before us, but they get, you know, like maybe outdoor patios or furniture or something that is going on, especially with springtime coming. I can see some new things that happening, umbrellas and stuff like that, and maybe there's some things that get administrative approval, which wouldn't come before us, but it's in our historic district. And he mentioned that maybe that could be something we could just put as a note, you know, saying, hey, we got 4 administrative approvals this week in these little locations. So in case we see something on Main Street, we'd be able to know that, yeah, that was already approved.
We'll check into that.
Okay.
Okay.
Can I make a comment? That
Absolutely.
administrative approvals are generally done by the chair.
Right.
So that Cheryl will know that, and if you'd like to add that to the agenda, that's definitely something we can do.
We can put it on
Okay.
the.
Oh, that's not a bad idea.
Yeah, just see if there's anything that's been approved of here.
The reason I became chair, first of all, about 9 years ago. It's been an honor, sometimes a challenge, but there were previous chairs who, a lot of things never came before the commission. They would just go ahead and sign off on it. And I have done that twice, only because they're first and they would say, like for instance, a sign, I think was one of them. I'm not sure if I want the yellow or the white. And I always, with that, I make the motion, we then agree that we're fine with either of them, and we take a vote on that. So then I'll sign off if they come back with one of them. What I've also done with all of you that have been here is sometimes we'll agree that it can be this or this, and we say we'll go to, when you decide which it is, since we're fine with it, we make a vote, as you know, that whichever one they go to planning, as long as it's within the regulations, then it's okay. And then I'll sign off on that. But I don't agree with somebody can say, hey, can you sign off on the, I had very early on, will you sign off on a demolition? No, I won't sign off on a demolition. That has to go before everybody.
Well, admin approvals are specifically defined as general maintenance or like-for-like changes.
Yeah.
So it generally changes that currently exist. So if you want to repair clapboard,
Yeah.
and you're doing with a similar material, and that
Yeah.
would be an administrative.
And we've done that as well.
Yeah.
But anything that, there are things that I just think, no, that's not for one person to decide. Otherwise, it demeans the efforts that all the other commissioners do and having a say. So that's where it is.
I have another quick thing.
Yes,
Just really
please.
quick, just want to remind, I'm gonna do this every meeting, May 19th is our moratorium on public art. So we're getting close, we're 2 months away. So I just want to remind us as a commission, make sure we get ourselves in line on that.
When are we supposed to do this?
April 2nd,
Yep.
Cape Cod Commission, Sarah Cordriff will be here to provide a presentation for us.
Awesome.
Yeah, that was mentioned at the last meeting as well. I asked for clarification of the date. All right.
What's gonna happen?
We're having the moratorium on art on our April 2nd meeting, okay?
Cape Cod Commission, Sarah Cordriff's going to provide a presentation on what other communities and other historic districts do in regard to art.
Is our town attorney gonna be here at the same time, do we know?
She
Good,
will.
okay.
She should be, she usually is. They're both wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay, approval of the draft minutes, March 5th, 2025. First of all, are there any changes that anyone wants to make?
Motion to approve?
So moved by
Second.
Commissioner.
Second.
Pick one.
Okay.
It's the whole commission. It was everybody. Some people want to get home. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so, minutes, I wanna thank, this was a tough evening. Quite often, it's super easy, sometimes it's tough. I wanna thank everyone for being honest and, voicing their feelings on what it was and their opinions on it. Trying to stick to the guidelines.
Is that the decision? Are we gonna just stick with the guidelines, or are we gonna?
Well, we're gonna get some more clarification on that. There's always something that comes up, and then we have to go, and that's why we're meeting every 3 months. Something else needs to gonna be, we keep a list, so.
The problem I see is, again, we've gotta have 2 boards approve any changes that are made, so it's another public, we've gotta put the public meeting notice out and gotta get everybody together and get a date, and I just want, I'm as frustrated as, especially both of you, but all of us. I don't like feeling like the bad guy when I walk out of here every single 2 weeks.
I have put together page 46, and I have merged it with the guidelines that we were given from the town attorney's office. But I don't wanna finalize it until we have this moratorium, because there may well be other things to go in there.
Yep.
And then when that happens, I sent Jim a copy. And also Kevin had something he wanted in it, I've added that. So after the moratorium, we'll be putting that together, and it'll come before us for review, to see if we wanna put it before. I also sent a copy of what was the first step draft to the chair of planning board. Did Jim share that with you?
Not yet.
Okay, I will send you one. It was before you came on individually with us. And we're very glad to have you, and thank you for all your input. Sometimes the hot seat's down at that end of the table, but, okay.
Are we gonna ever resolve the zoning issue with the
We
building?
will resolve it. I am determined we'll resolve it. I don't like doing this.
No, neither do I.
And I do like that. I wish it had been different.
My only suggestion would be, when somebody starts on this road, if their application is not reasonably within the parameters of our guidelines, they should be told, sorry, fix this, and
Yes.
then come back to us. Instead, they go through all of this, he spent thousands.
Okay,
with all these- Yeah.
the applicant is not here anymore. We should not be discussing
No,
them.
true,
Yeah.
anyone who spends a lot of money and goes on a journey, and at the very beginning of the journey, does not reasonably meet our guidelines.
I agree.
Be told that.
I agree.
How do you define architectural character and historic character? That, I think,
I guess I'm talking only about the height issue, and I think Kevin really cleared that up when he talked about how if someone comes in here with 37 feet, well, yeah, all right.
those are good questions.
They are good questions.
Kevin's right to be looking for clarity.
Again,
I
we're talking about a specific
Okay,
application.
let me say in general, when any applicant comes in, I am willing to give a little here and there when it comes to height, possibly. But the character of the building, the mass of how it is those are still important things that where we could fix a height thing, but maybe it still doesn't look,
right,
you know.
Because when you think of historic, what I think of historic, and when you think of it's.
But that's why we're a committee, we vote, and that's the greatest part about it, we all have our thoughts.
That's my question, is how do we further get clarity on that?
I'm wondering, some of the projects that come in, and I'm not mentioning names, I wonder would they present that project to the Chatham Historic District or Nantucket Historic District, or what is it that they're coming in with more modern?
The opportunity zone, the growth zone. Can I clarify? That's why we're having the moratorium. For everything.
No, but I mean, but then I would like the town council to say to us, guys, it's gonna be 4 stories, deal with it. Okay, we'll write it on a regular, and then we won't fight about this anymore.
There's a zoning committee, subcommittee that's reviewing the zoning, so I think if you wanna know what's going on, take a look at that. That's their purview, not ours.
Well, I agree, but town council makes the rules.
Okay,
They're the
so,
ones that form the committee.
does anyone want to go home? No?
I wanna go home.
Okay.
So do I.
Motion to adjourn.
Not your home, I wanna go mine.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Next meeting is April 2nd, which will be the.
All in favor of adjournment? Thank
Aye.
you to everyone.
Thank you.
Oh, that was good.
That was fun.
Yeah.
Can't wait to see what's on the.
Thank you for all your help, Dave.